internet. How are you? Wait, don't answer because I can't hear you. That's not how it works. I don't know how many times we have to go over this internet. I can't hear you no matter how hard you scream directly into YouTube. I mean, maybe someday, John, there will be an app where people can scream into YouTube and I can hear it in real time. In the past, we're going to invent time travel and then use it for YouTube comments. But until that day comes, welcome to the Rage Select podcast here on Rage Select, and I am Jeff.
I'm sorry, were you talking? I wasn't really paying attention.
God damn it. All right.
No.
All right, so listen up.
I'm John.
Hello. I could do the whole thing all over again. No, it's time for the podcast. John, welcome back. Yeah. We have a real humdinger of a show this week.
Humdinger.
A humdinger.
I like that word.
Is that, what even does it mean? Is it like an old snack that people
I
used
think
to?
it is, yeah.
Like,
well, if I remember correctly, in MST3K, it wasn't the escape pod and a box of humdingers.
That's hamdingers. Yeah. I don't know if that was like a snack. I don't know. Like there's, I just don't know what that means. So
Yeah,
I'm sure somebody can tell us in the
It's
comments
my only
section.
frame of reference.
Yeah. So yes, welcome everybody to the show. John, how's it been going with you?
It's good. It's good. You
Yeah?
know? Yeah. Playing some games, watching wrestling, watching TV, watching.
How's what games have you been playing recently?
Well, I was playing Rise of the Tomb Raider for a while there. It was pretty good.
Did you finish it?
I have not finished it. I kind of took a break from it. And then my life got sucked back into tablet games.
Oh, good.
For a little while there.
Oh, you filthy casual.
Started playing more of
noob.
my WWE Immortals. I went back to that.
Okay.
Got really obsessed with playing it again.
Okay.
And then I recently started playing Punch Club.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you were telling me about that
on the iPad. Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to think. I know I've played like other games. Like I went back and played. What did I play? I played something that was. Oh, I started playing Quest of Heroes, Heroes of Might and Magic, Quest of Heroes, or something like that. Old Xbox 360, Xbox Live Arcade game.
Okay.
That is backwards compatible. I was like, oh yeah, I really like this game.
Have you been leaning into the backwards compatibility on the Xbox One
I've
little
been
bit?
playing a little bit of it.
How
yeah.
is it?
It's good.
It's fine. Just everything plays
I've
fine.
had no issues. If I have any issues with my Xbox One, it's that sometimes the CD-ROM drive doesn't like to recognize that there's a disc inside of it when you put it in.
Weird.
Like once it's in there and it recognizes it, it'll always recognize.
So
it.
you have to like lean with both hands?
No,
shove
like I have
it
to
in there?
put it in, and then like nothing will happen, and then I'll have to eject it and put it in again. Nothing will happen. Eject it, put it in, and then I can hear it spinning, and I'm like, oh, okay, good. Now it'll actually register that there's a disc.
Didn't last week? Didn't they accidentally put Red Dead Redemption on the backwards compatibility list and then take it off again?
They did that, and like 3 other games. One of which they actually just put back on backwards compatibility today, which was the Alan Wake American Nightmare.
Oh, okay.
Xbox Live Arcade game.
Yeah.
But yeah, they put that on there. But apparently there was a weird runaround on how to get it.
Okay.
And then like they realized, oh shit, that wasn't supposed to go live. Someone accidentally put a checkbox somewhere they weren't supposed to, pulled it, and then made it so that those files, as soon as someone tried to launch those files, it would connect to the internet, because it always connects to Microsoft servers to verify it.
Sure.
And then basically made those files useless.
How does this continue to happen in the year 2016 that shit gets accidentally put up? Well, I tell you what, before we move on, because I mean, God only knows. Well, actually, no, I got a little gaming to talk about. But before we move away from John, I have to ask. I don't know much about the fancy men in their underpants that do the oil dancing, but I do know that you're a big fan of a guy with a beard who puts his fingers in the air who retired this week.
Yes.
What? Yeah. How? That he doesn't seem like old or anything. What happened there?
Concussions.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So he got the big thing.
Well, we're talking about Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan.
Yep.
Fantastic wrestler. Probably one of the best wrestlers in a long while.
I see. What's funny about it is that I saw him in multiple WWE games, and I didn't know who the fuck this greasy hillbilly hobo guy was. You and Amanda's excitement about him has actually leached off onto me a little bit, where I actually kind of give a shit a little bit about Daniel Bryan.
because I mean, he's like because he's this guy that throughout his career was like, oh, you're too small, you'll never get to the WWE because you're too small.
Right.
He got to the WWE. Oh, well, you got to the WWE. Good job, because you're a good guy and you worked hard enough and you got to the WWE. Congratulations. But you'll never be WWE champion.
Right.
Became WWE champion. Okay, well, you got that, but you're still too small. You'll never headline WrestleMania. Headline WrestleMania 30.
Wow.
And probably, arguably, one of the best storylines in a long time that I, to this day, am not 100% sure what all was scripted and what all was real.
Wow, okay.
Like,
all right.
it is one of the few moments where there's a lot of rumors and stuff about how they didn't want him to be the guy and they didn't want to put him in the main event, and how fans were like, no, this is the guy we want to be the main event.
Right.
And they were like, no, we want you to look at these guys. And then it's like, no, we want that guy. And a lot of it, and then he basically won the title at WrestleMania, and then a few months later got a neck injury.
Okay.
And he was out for had to vacate the title,
right.
and then was out for 6 months to a year.
Okay.
Came back better than, just as good as ever. Went on to the WrestleMania the next year, won a tournament to get the Intercontinental title.
Okay.
Won it, had to vacate it because of another injury.
Okay.
And then eventually the WWE basically wouldn't, they're like, no, we won't clear you to wrestle. Like, he went, and basically he had a concussion, and he went to all these high-ranking concussion doctors, like NFL qualified, like doctors who were the leading field of looking at people who have concussions and determining whether or not they're able to continue competently working. And they're all saying he's good. He's actually healthier than people who don't have concussion, who have never gotten a concussion.
Right.
Like, he's fucking healthy. And the WWE's like, nope, we're not clearing him. We'll never clear him to wrestle.
I mean, from what you've told me over the years, because there was a time where John and I went to the bar and I was just like, all right, John, tell me everything about wrestling. And I think it was like the greatest day of John's life, because I was like, you got a free pass to just make me interested in wrestling.
Yeah.
And but that almost sounds like the WWE has never liked Daniel Bryan, never wanted him to do anything. They finally found some flimsy excuse to keep him from
Here's
wrestling.
the thing. I think they liked him because he's a nice guy.
Okay.
I think they're like, you're great. We like you in our company. People seem to like you and buy your merchandise, so that's great. But we don't want you to be the guy. Because we want these other people who we feel are more marketable than you. And somehow, despite all the odds, we all, fans everywhere, gravitated to him.
Right.
Went, no, we don't care about your good-looking, giant, muscular man. We want this tiny troll, goat-looking dude.
Okay.
Like
you do, you know. Oh, yeah.
And it's because he's a fucking phenomenal wrestler and, talented, and he actually does have a charisma to him that is just amazing. But anyways, and apparently it got to a point where he was super... okay, you either need to fire me or let me out of my contract, or you need to clear me to wrestle.
Right.
And apparently the behind the scenes, from what I've heard, they were like, well, we're just never going to clear you, and we're not going to let you out of your contract because when you went on injury, your contract froze, meaning that you still have to complete the time that you were supposed to, including the time you were injured.
Okay.
So as far as we're concerned, we can leave it on freeze forever, and you'll never work anywhere else.
Wow.
Kind of thing. But we'll still continue paying you.
Right.
We're not going to, fuck you over and leave you out of life and home or whatever. We're still going to continue to pay you money.
Right.
Kind of thing. And apparently he basically did one other thing. He found out about some new concussion thing that was being looked at, and he went to a doctor about it and said, can you run this on me so that I can take this to them and go, here's one more test that's a brand new test that's the leading in the field and supposed to be the most, accurate test, whatever. And they went, so you have a problem. And apparently this wasn't like the WWE going, no, you need to go see this guy. He went on this on his own or whatever.
Right.
And they're like, well, you have a issue in the part of your brain where concussions can happen that also can lead to seizures, which apparently he revealed that he has been having seizures.
Oh, no.
And he's just been keeping it hidden.
Oh, hidden seizures are the worst.
Because he didn't want the WWE to use that against him.
Right.
To say, oh, well, we're not going to clear you because you've had seizures.
Okay.
And they said, yeah, if you continue getting concussions and continue having these seizures, they're going to get worse every time, and it's probably going to leave you brain dead at some point.
Right.
And he basically went, well, fuck. All right, I got to retire because I can't, I have a wife. I want to have kids.
Right.
I can't in good conscience risk that.
And, like most people, does not want brain damage.
Yeah.
If possible, to avoid brain damage.
And so on Raw this week, they had this big thing where he kind of came out, talked about it, really emotional. Literally, he even got a fucking "that's what she said" moment in his retirement speech. Okay. Because at one point,
what the fuck?
Well, at one point he's
what year is this again?
Well, no, it was great because at one point he's like, I have a wife and I want to go home and have kids. With my wife, I'd like to have kids. And the fans just started chanting yes.
Yeah.
And he started laughing. He goes, yeah, that's what she says every night. And then the fans just went wild over that.
Oh, okay.
It was just one of those things. He just popped in his head, and you could tell he didn't want to say it, but he's like, "Fuck it, I'm going to say it."
So, is he retiring to do? I mean, is he just going to do commentary or no real?
We don't know what he's
going
to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. Yeah, he basically just said, "I'm retiring." I think he's going to try to do more charity stuff because he really got into doing charities.
Let's get him on Rage Select. It's the new co-host of Rage Select is Daniel Bryan.
Yeah,
no?
He is not a video game player.
Well, that's fine. Neither was Grant. Let's do
good point. Good point. I don't know how to get in touch with this guy. So.
No, dude, you've got a cell phone number. Just call him up.
No, I don't have any contact with him.
Come on, John. We've had at least 4 hosts on Rage Select that don't really play video games all that much.
This is true. You and me are probably the only ones.
Well,
aside from more newer people.
I don't know as much anymore. I mean, I think it's just everybody has their specialty.
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing about running a site like this is that if I could have my druthers, right?
Yeah.
I would have a different person for every genre of game, and instead of switching people out based on like, I'm going to use you for these 2 videos. I'm going to use for these. It'd be like, okay, who likes horror games? Let's get the horror game person. Who likes action games? Let's get the action game person. And who likes JRPGs? Or racing games or fighting games. And
that's no fun because all the fans want the people who don't like the JRPGs to play the JRPGs. Specifically Grant.
Have an entire channel full of specialists where I just mismatch them to the games of like, all right, we're playing a racing game. Jennifer, you like JRPGs. Sit down and bitch about racing games. Today we've got Space Marines. I was going to make a joke about putting Sarah on with Space Marines, but I already did that when I had her on for Halo 5.
Yes, she
She's
did.
just like, I don't like these sorts of games. And it's like, oh, good. I almost feel like maybe that's a question I should ask people in the future before I have them on Rage Select. Hey, what games do you like and what games do you not like?
So I can make sure to put you on all the ones you don't like.
Damn right. Well, let's see. Before we move on to the news, let's see a couple of quick things. I had some stuff in my brain. I finished Firewatch. I also finished XCOM 2. I'm actually like without intros and outros, I've actually had time to beat video games. Like that's crazy. So I was talking with you about this before we started. So Firewatch, I was like meh about, right? Like the story, I felt there's this mystery, and it was a lot like the people that I feel were legitimately upset about Gone Home for its bait and switchiness of like, this is a spooky horror, there's something creepy going on here. And then, nope. There's not anything creepy actually going on here. Like that was just you filling in the blanks with all of these cues that we put in here, like 100 news articles about some serial killer that used to live in this house or whatever, and then the cross turns upside down and the light goes out. Firewatch kind of did that to the point where when I finally got to the grand reveal, I was like, oh, is that it? All right, cool. But the thing I really want to talk about more than that is Firewatch runs like shit on the PS4.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Like not even a consistent 30 frames per second, which at what that game is should not be a thing. Like it should run flawlessly. I mean, in comparison, The Witness that came out, what was it, 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah.
Looks almost identical. I mean, the very similar art styles, right? It's kind of like very colorful, lush,
yeah, but
outdoorsy
The Witness
type of
doesn't
stuff.
have a turtle, Jeff.
Is that what slowed the frame rate down?
Yes, it's that goddamn turtle.
You don't know this, but the entire internal organs of the turtle are all rendered in real time, and all of the processing power of the PS4 is to accurately render the behavior of this one turtle. I was like, hey, turtle pal. So, like, I'm kind of curious because I'm pretty sure, I'm relatively certain that game is running on Unity. And I know that because most of the games that I've played on the PS4 that run on Unity run terribly.
Yes.
And I don't understand why.
It's not just on the PS4 either.
What's that?
It's also on the Xbox One.
Oh, okay.
They did. Unity doesn't run well on consoles.
But I don't understand why. Like, it's made for. It's like this light language that works. I mean, like everything on the PC that I've run in Unity runs fine.
Yeah.
And the PS4 and the Xbox One are essentially just PCs. Like WTF Unity? What the fuck? Like to the point where where Firewatch was so hitchy that there was like, if I was reviewing it, I would probably hack at least half a star, if not a full star, off of that game because it just runs like shit. And this is 2016. It's not a graphical powerhouse. Like, you got to make this shit run correctly, because otherwise, I mean, like, I don't know. What do you think about that? I mean, it's possible that there might be a patch, but so far, every game I've run in that was made in Unity on the PS4 is just like, it's so rough.
I don't know. It seems to be an issue with Unity, or at least the consoles running Unity. Mm-hmm. Why that is, I don't know. I'm not a designer. I'm not a developer. I can't.
Well, I'm more asking, like, if you were going to review a game, I mean, would you take points off for running like shit? I mean,
it depends on how bad. Because, I mean, I've seen some places where people are like, oh, man, this game runs like shit. And it's like, I noticed a stutter once.
I mean, well, yeah, to put this in perspective, Fallout 4 was a little frame rate crappy on the PS4.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that bad. It was definitely playable. Whereas
until you get to one point in the game, but yeah.
In Firewatch, like, I would just be in the forest and turn around and suddenly my frame rate would dip into like single digits. And I'm like, what? Why? There's literally nothing out here. It's not like you're rendering a rampaging horde of zombies. And so far, I haven't seen that many instances where those types of games have gotten patched. I mean, I've never actually seen or heard of one of those games getting patched to run better. Now, I don't tend to go back because those games are so small to look at them that often.
Because you've beat them and you don't need to go back to them.
Right, exactly. Like, I'll never play Firewatch again. I just am done with it. But it does seem to me like, unless... Like, I think... I don't know. I feel like we should be holding at least this engine to a higher standard on these consoles, because
I agree.
Every single thing that comes out that's made in Unity is going to run like that, then they need to not put that shit out and use something else, or
I agree.
Port it or something. I don't know. But
yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on that.
Okay. Also, just because we're not really reviewing games anymore, I'll tell you people that are interested in XCOM 2. XCOM 2 is okay. I don't feel like it's as good as the first one, and I feel like a lot of that is because when you play the first one, nowadays you're also playing it with the expansion.
Yeah.
And XCOM 1 with the expansion is a phenomenal experience from start to finish. XCOM 2, slightly less so. Also kind of ran like garbage on my PC.
I've heard that too.
And I'm like, I don't see that there's any good reason for it to run like garbage on my PC, because my PC is not the bangingest, but it's relatively banging. I mean, it'll run Dying Light at high, high graphics, pretty consistent frame rate. So, like, why is it so slow in XCOM 2? But yeah, I don't know, 3.5, maybe 4 out of 5, something like that for XCOM 2. I don't think it's as good as the first one. I definitely don't. Like, there just doesn't seem to be as much interesting stuff to do in it. But
okay, still want to play it. Kind of hope one day they get off their bums and make a console version. But if they don't, I understand why.
You know what I wish they would do?
Controller support.
Fucking goddamn, for Access, you've got Steam controller support, but not regular controller support after XCOM 1 had like such good controller support integrated into it. Like, what the fuck, man? Sorry, this is a complainy ass opening. Well, I'll tell you what, let's stop complaining or complain even more, depending. Before we get to the news, though, we got a couple of movie trailers.
Ew.
Actually, wait, hold on. Before we get to the movie trailers, just briefly, I had a couple people today send me the Hideo Kojima YouTube channel.
Yes.
Which I'm like, he comes on,
Hideo
he's like, Tube or something
Hideo
like that. Tube, and I'm like, come on, man, you could like spend 10 minutes and come up with something, like the fact that that Metal Gear was developed on the Fox engine and it was like Fox Studios or whatever.
You didn't know, Jeff?
Kojima
That's all
Productions.
in engine. All those videos, they're in engine. That's not real video. That's all rendered.
That's all in the Fox engine.
That's all in whatever he's working on now that's called something else.
You know how long we spent making that fucking model of me? We're going to use it, goddammit. No, it was funny, though, because it started and it was pretty like, the subtitles were pretty solid. They were there. They were talking about it. It was like him and this other guy were going to do like, oh, we're going to talk about our favorite movies from last year. And then like about 6 minutes in, there were just these long swaths of them talking to each other about movies with no subtitles. And I was like, No, okay. I mean, bye, I guess. Like, I enjoy when Hideo Kojima has subtitles and I can hear what he's saying because I think the guy's kind of like a cool auteur and I like his games and stuff. And I'd be interested to know, with his weird-ass taste in movies, like what he really likes and what he doesn't like. But
all I know is one headline told me that he really liked Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, yeah. The guy that he was doing the show with said that he saw Fury Road like 10 times in the theater or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, because we all know that Kojima is a giant movie nerd, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, between like Sean Connery as Big Boss on the back of Solid Snake and
between all of his games, he's a huge movie nerd.
Yeah. Like, in fact, if you go look at the box for Metal Gear, it's Michael Biehn from Terminator, and you've got a guy called Snake, and he's got an eye patch, and there's just a bunch of movie references in there.
And Metal Gear Solid 2, it's his code name, his secret name is Pliskin.
Oh yeah, Iroquois Pliskin.
Yeah, which is Snake Plissken, Escape from New York.
Yep,
we get it.
Fucking Metal Gear Solid 2,
and he's got a mullet.
All right, well, I tell you what. So here's what I'm saying. Oh, actually, people sent me 2 videos, and I will talk about both of these before we jump into the movies and the news. I will go back and watch that video if it has a full set of subtitles on it.
All right.
I'm just not. As much as I enjoy Hideo Kojima, I don't speak Japanese. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. And I'm also not willing to just skip to try to figure out what the 10 movies were. Somebody can just put those in a list. Also, a bunch of people sent me... Do you know the guys that do make like swords and stuff?
Yes.
Man-at-Arms.
Yeah, Man-at-Arms. They made the
saw cleaver from Bloodborne.
Yes.
It was pretty cool.
Thing looks fucking heavy.
Well, yeah, that was the funny part at the end. Was at the very end of every one of their videos, they take their thing and they chop up a bunch of stuff with it.
Yeah.
And like all of them were wielding it open, right, in the open position with 2 hands. Like I was like, I really want to see somebody try to put that thing in the closed position and swing it, because I'm pretty sure that they would just spin around in a circle and fall down on the ground. Like,
yeah. Well, considering they made it like the train.
Oh
rail,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like the metal he used was like fucking heavy ass shit.
Yeah. It was pretty good looking.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a point where they get kind of close to the end where I'm just like, I start to get real nervous because I'm like, fuck. I don't know. Here's a question. You've seen a lot of the Bloodborne weapons. What Bloodborne weapon would you like to see in real life? I want to see somebody try to lift the Kirk hammer.
Oh, God.
The end of that thing is just a big rock. I'm trying to think of some of the cooler looking transformation ones. Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, Gurman's scythe would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That transforms all out. All right, so we got 2 movie trailers, and then we'll get into the news. First up, there was a new Dawn of Justice trailer. I have to say, in a really weird way, John, that the more trailers I see for this movie, the more I kind of want to see it.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah?
But then again, I hate The Dark Knight Returns, so, the more I see, the more I'm seeing Dark Knight Returns, and, the more I hate it. So.
Okay. I mean, I like there's this opening part of basically Batfleck just like beating a bunch of guys up.
Yeah, and that looks great.
And what I really like about it is it's a real kind of like brutal thing. Like he doesn't really seem like he's a martial artist so much as just like,
looks like he's just fucking people up.
Like he's just punching them really, really hard. I also really like the idea of and I'm pretty sure that this is, this has been talked about in a bunch of the other trailers before, but this one really fleshes out the idea that like he is going up against Superman because of the destruction of Metropolis.
Yeah.
And I know I've said this on previous podcasts, but I like the idea of somebody who is like, dude, fuck that guy. He blew the city up.
I have an issue with one line in the trailer.
Which is?
Again, it's a Batman line.
Okay.
Which he goes, even if there is only a 1% chance that he could be a threat, we have to look at it as that 1% is fact.
Right.
Which it's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, well, the preceding line to that...
No, it's like, it's a deal. I deal in absolutes. Fuck you. You're not a hero.
What? I don't understand, John.
Dealing in absolutes?
Yeah.
Like, no, there is no absolute, like, oh, well, he's super powerful, so therefore he's got to be evil.
Yeah.
Like, that. Who the fuck thinks that?
Batman? He's a crazy person. Batman is a crazy person. You know this.
To a degree, yeah.
No, there's no degree. He dresses up like a bat and punches people. He is an insane lunatic who needs to be locked up for his own good and have Alfred just care for him until his days are over and he can pass away peacefully. Anyway, I don't know how this part at the end where Superman's trying to punch him and Batman blocks the punch with.
It's Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, but still, like again,
that's actually the thing that irritates me about this movie more than anything is, and it's not the fact that they're doing elements of Dark Knight Returns.
Right.
It's that if you want to make Dark Knight Returns, make the Dark Knight Returns. Don't use elements of it and go and cheat the thing, because the whole point of that the book is that they were friends for a really long time, and they're old, and they're both old.
Yeah.
And in this movie, Batman's old. And they just automatically go to the Dark Knight Returns stuff. It's like it hasn't earned that level of what's in that book.
Sure. Plus, it's a thing that I pointed out before of like the only reason that the big robot bat suit worked was, one, Superman was wildly depowered and had been smacked around quite a bit before he even got there, and two, he didn't want to just murder Bruce Wayne. He was trying to kind of give him a chance. It was like, yeah, I love people who refer to that and they're like, Batman kicked Superman's ass, and it's like, did you read the inset panels where Superman's like, I don't want to have to murder you, Bruce. I really don't. I'm trying to stop you here, but you keep doing stupid shit like shooting at me with a sonic ray gun and stuff like that. Anyway, I don't know. I'll, as
I'm
going
to go see this movie.
Multiple
go
times
see
before.
It.
Yeah, I'm going to go watch it. It's not like I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah, I'll go see it. I have very low hopes for this movie.
Okay.
And it's actually not because of the trailers. It's purely because Man of Steel misses the point of Superman completely.
Oh, my God, please don't get me started. I will go on. This will be an entire podcast. It's about nothing.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, so I have no faith in this movie being good, but I hope it's good. I hope I go into the movie and I get wowed. I want to go in and
get surprised.
Get surprised and actually be like, you know what? And I want to come out of that movie going, you know what?
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Just a brief side note. Have you seen Deadpool?
No, it just came out today.
Oh, it came out today? Okay.
Or it's midnight tonight today that we're recording.
Oh, okay. Heard nothing but good stuff so far.
So far, everyone's saying it's really good.
So, second, you told me about this last week, and then somehow today it showed up in my feed, and I watched it. The trailer for Keanu, the Key and Peele movie, where what of the guys gets a cat and he names a kitten?
Names it Keanu.
He names it Keanu, and then it's like John Wick with the cat.
Yeah, so he gets broken up with, and he goes into a thing of despair, and then he gets a cat, and it lightens up his life.
Right.
And then the cat gets catnapped.
By like gangsters?
Yeah.
Like there's one part where you see the cat wearing like a do-rag on
and a bulletproof vest.
A bulletproof vest. It looks amazing. Like I cannot you told me about this and I wasn't entirely certain about it, and then I went and watched it. I've also been watching a lot of Key and Peele on Hulu. I really want to see this movie now. Like
it's crazy. Like I saw it and I was like, so is this trailer a skit that they did?
Yeah.
Because sometimes they'll do skits, but in the form of trailers.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that's kind of cool. And I was like, no, this is an actual movie. Wait, this is an actual movie? Yeah. I want to see this movie.
Yeah, I do too. It looks really, really funny. It's funny because it's one of those trailers where on its face, this looks like a dumb, stupid comedy movie. Yeah. But the trailer has all of these really interesting elements of just like insanity. Plus, watching these guys on their show, like they're just really good. They're like super, super good comedians. So, I really want to see this. It looks absolutely fantastic. Keanu. Who could have guessed? All right, well, enough about everything else. Let's get to the goddamn news. It's been 30 minutes already. Jesus. All right, so we got a bunch of news. First up, normally I like to save my bullshit soul stories for last, but this week I'm putting it first because the opening cinematic for Dark Souls 3 came out.
Yes, it did.
Okay, so John, you watched the opening cinematic trailer for Dark Souls 3.
Yes, I did.
What did you think?
Looks fucking beautiful.
Yes.
It's amazing looking.
I have
no idea what's going on outside of a few things.
I have some issues. First off, I can say with absolute certainty that we'll get into what this is in a second. But if you've ever seen the opening movie from Dark Souls, it is almost exactly like that, down to the voiceover and the stuff that they're saying. Like, it is almost beat for beat exactly the opening movie to Dark Souls 1, except that it's talking about some different stuff. It's got the woman doing the voiceover.
Yeah.
And one of the big problems I have with this is that, like, as the trailer goes on, it's hard to hear what she's saying. Like, the sound mix on it is not super great. But it starts, and it talks about Lothric.
I also appreciate that, like, not even, like, 5 seconds into the trailer, somebody dies.
Yeah.
It's like, even the protagonists we're following in this trailer die.
I mean, I don't really know as much about this. I'm sure there's other people who have done like YouTube analysis and people who might be further into the lore than I am who might have already figured this out. But like, I like the idea of what this seems like is that so Dark Souls 1 set up the first cycle of the fire going out and being either relit or put out. Dark Souls 2 established that no matter what happens, that cycle will continue. And it was kind of like this midpoint story of the realization of how the world has been affected by the fact that the dark sign comes and goes, and it's there and it leaves. And then I like the idea that this is that what you might actually be looking at here is kind of what I wanted for Dark Souls 2, is somebody to break the cycle finally, to finally either extinguish the flame permanently or kindle it to a point where it can never go out, because this world and all of the trailers are so gray. And I think that one of the things that I like about that is that it really, to me, reminds me of in the beginning of Dark Souls 1, in the opening prologue, they talk about how before there was the flame, there was just this infinite gray land with the endless dragons and nothing else, right? And then suddenly there was fire, and that brought disparity and blah, 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 all that nonsense, right? So I kind of like the idea of the world kind of is in this just like hopelessness of this continued cycle that has been going on for so long, and it keeps destroying and remaking the world. I like a couple of things here for sure. They say in the trailer that the fire fades and the lords go without thrones. When the link of fire is threatened, the bell tolls, unearthing the old lords of cinder from their graves. So we've got this big goopy-looking goop pile.
Kind of looks like a dragon that's unfolding, and then it just turns into goop.
Yeah, called Aldrich, Saint of the Deep. The second set of guys here that I really like are Farron's Undead Legion, because they're called the Abyss Watchers. And you don't know this because you didn't ever play Dark Souls. One of the big things in Dark Souls 1 is Artorias is called the Abyss Walker. And that's the whole DLC was Artorias of the Abyss.
Yeah.
And then the last one that we see, the last kind of big thing that we see is Yorm, the giant, who's obviously, I like the fact that this game is actually incorporating some of Dark Souls 2 and not just like, completely ignoring it.
Yeah.
Because we saw the big butthole faces in Dark Souls 2. But one of the other things that I really like, and I don't know if they're tying this in, is at the end there's a shot of a person picking up a crown, and I'm wondering if that's going to actually, if the whole point of Dark Souls 2 might not have been the crowns, like with the DLC, because we're going to get to that in one of the questions in our email section, but the whole point of Dark Souls 2 was for your character to try to figure out a way not to go hollow. And if you go through the entire DLC, you do in the fact of this crown. I tell you what, we'll get back to it later. But anyway, this looks great. I'm a little bummed out that it's so similar to the Dark Souls 1 intro. Like, it's beat for beat, kind of like telling a story, then telling the names of these giant beasts that you see.
Yeah, but that also seems like it's on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, even this part at the very end where it kind of quiets down and this person's like putting on the crown or whatever is very much like when the person catches the ember and puts the dark sign on somebody or whatever happens there at the end. So, I don't know. I can tell you that I'm looking forward to it in the
looks good.
Most fantastic. I mean, it's going to take... I am not afraid to sit here and tell you it's going to take another game is going to have to be like fucking on point, or Dark Souls 3 is going to have to be like the biggest misstep ever for it not to be my game of the year. I hate it when people do that, when they're just like, it's already my game of the year. It's like, it's not even out yet, dude. Come on. But so far, John, Dark Souls 1 was my game of the year when it came out. Dark Souls 2 was my game of the year when it came out. Bloodborne was my game of the year last year. I think
was Dark Souls 2 your game of the year?
Yeah. No.
You gave it to...
No.
I thought you gave it to like South Park or something.
Yes. Oh, and shit. there is the Fractured But Whole is coming out this year. Dark Souls 3 versus South Park 2. Who will win? Probably Dark Souls 3 because it's made by Miyazaki. But anyway, yep, looks great. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Next up on the list, you actually told me about this. I didn't know about this until today, but there was a new Quantum Break trailer. And let's talk about the trailer real fast, and then we could talk about
it's a live-action trailer.
Wailing and gnashing of teeth that came with it. So we got a bunch of guys in a SWAT van drive up, and we got, who's that guy?
Sean Ashmore?
Is Ashmore, is that it?
Yeah.
Aston? Bean?
No, I thought it was Ashmore.
Penn?
Don Ashmore. Sean Ashmore.
Okay.
He's Iceman in X-Men movies.
He'll always be a hobbit to me, right? He was one of the hobbits, wasn't he?
No, he was only Iceman. Though Dominic Monaghan, who was one of the hobbits, plays his brother in the game, who is also in the game as well.
Okay. Generic white guys all run together to me. I just, can't tell them apart. Anyway, this trailer is pretty cool. Like, I really like the time effects that they have on it, the way that things stop and kind of break up. So these guys are coming to shoot him, and then he stops time and doesn't get shot.
Yeah.
Surprise!
I actually like the fact that when time gets stopped,
there
are bullets in the air, and he just kind of pushes them aside.
Well, yeah, it's funny because he got all these guys with their laser sights on him, and then when he stops time, he just starts walking right into the laser sights. Like, I'm like, dude, they're the laser sights, man. Like, that's where the bullets are going. Yeah, but he just kind of flips the...
Yeah, he just kind of pushes... I just like the fact that if you actually watch, he actually just, pushes them aside.
He's like, yeah, fuck your bullets. Nope, I don't like it.
And then he takes the gun.
Yep. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I really so far have liked everything that I've seen from Quantum Break.
Yeah.
Of the whole time manipulation thing.
I'm a huge Remedy fanboy.
Right.
I have said this numerous times on this podcast, on other podcasts. Like, Remedy is honestly one of my favorite video game companies.
Yeah.
I am nothing but excited for this game.
Me too. Now, do you want to tell the people what happened and the whiny, complaining pantsing that...
they announced how they're going to release the game.
Okay.
There's a regular version of the game.
They're going to put it on a punch card, and then you're going to have to burn your own.
There's a regular version of the game, and then there's a bundle with a console. You get a special edition white Xbox One with a 500 gigabyte hard drive.
Okay.
That comes with a digital copy of Quantum Break. Comes with a digital backwards compatible license for Alan Wake and its DLC and Alan Wake American Nightmare. And also comes with the PC version of Quantum Break.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which, prior to this announcement, had not been announced.
Yeah, that's what you said that to me all nonchalantly, and I'm like, wait. There's a PC version of Quantum Break?
Yeah, and it's going to be released the same day.
Now, here's the thing: is I'm getting the I don't know if you read this, and I didn't read anything about this in the storyline, but is the PC version Windows 10 exclusive?
Yes, it is.
You sons of fucking bitches!
It is a Windows 10
in your
game.
Goddamn Windows 10 butthole, Microsoft! I swear to God, I don't know why the hell you keep doing this. Well, in any case, so then the reaction. So I hate that because I'm like, oh, fuck you. It'll run on a Windows 7 machine. No matter what you say, no matter what bullshit string of words you put together, there's no reason outside of you want people to upgrade to Windows 10 because you can't get them to upgrade unless you do shit like withhold content behind Windows 10. So fuck you, Microsoft. But there was people out there that were saying fuck you, Microsoft, for an entirely different reason.
Yeah, because they were just upset that it's less exclusive than they thought. Mm-hmm. Because it was like, oh, it's console exclusive. Then I need to own an Xbox. Well, now I don't need to own an Xbox. Well, fuck you. I really wanted to play that game, but you released it for another platform, even though it's PC only. But you can go fuck yourself because I'm not buying that game now because you're assholes.
Yeah,
and it's like. So you're upset because other people are wanting to play other people are going to get to play the game?
It's funny. We were talking about this before we started, but I think that you actually, in that sentence of description, described why those people are so upset. Because they bought an Xbox One to be able to play this game, and they could have, if they were really interested in just this one game, they could have just gone and bought a gaming PC and had access to a larger, not for the amount of money that an Xbox One costs, but in any case, I do kind of empathize a little bit with somebody who bought a thing for a thing, and then at the 11th hour, that company's like, guess what? You didn't actually have to buy that thing.
But also here's the other thing: the PC specs, for the Windows 10 version of Quantum Break are fucking ridiculously high.
Really?
The requirements.
Like what?
Like, I don't remember looking at it, but I mean, it's like you have to have like a pretty decent system. Like, it's not just anyone is going to be able to play it kind of thing.
Let's see. Quantum Break PC specs.
At least what I was reading.
Remedy released the system requirements. Here we go. Windows 10, DirectX 12, Core i5, 2.7, or AMD FX 6300, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 760, 2 gigs of VRAM, 8 gigs of RAM, 55 gigs of hard drive space is a little much, but like,
also,
those are the minimum specs.
Yeah.
Recommended is i7 4790, GeForce 980 Ti, 6 gigs of VRAM, 16 gigs of RAM, 55 gigs of hard drive space. Yeah, I don't know. That's one of those things where it seems like it's a bit much, but it's kind of in line with what you want for.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because when some people are like, well, okay, so you bought an Xbox One, okay, well, you have other games that you can play because there are other games that people can play. Yes,
Sure.
there are. Maybe people are claiming that Xbox One is getting boned as far as exclusives. I don't really see that, but whatever. Right now, all they have is the Gears of War games and the Halo and the Forza and the timed exclusivity for Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah. There's a few others. I mean, Killer Instinct.
Killer Instinct. There was Sunset Overdrive.
Right.
There was. There are actually a lot of exclusives, and there are also exclusives still coming.
Sure.
Down the line.
Yeah.
So people saying that they bought, if people bought it for only a console for one game, which I've done in the past, but if you buy a console for one game, it's a little much.
It's
But
a little much.
Having said that, it's like some people were like, well, I don't. They're like, people brought up the argument, like, so you're upset that other people are getting it, and they're like, well, we're upset that other people are getting it for cheaper, and it's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, it's still $60 if you buy it on console or if you buy it on PC, and if you're buying it on console and you're buying the console itself, you're getting a copy of the PC version for free.
Right.
Also, apparently, if you pre-order the game through Microsoft's Xbox store, you get a copy of the PC version for free. So it's, if you're buying the game, you're getting the PC version for free.
Right.
You're getting a better deal than if you just go buy the PC version. They're like, well, no, I have to pay more because to have an Xbox, I have to have online capabilities. So therefore, I have to buy gold. So I have to spend $50 a year on top of the game, and then also on top of that, the PC people don't have to pay that. And it's like, whoa.
That's always been the case, though.
It's like, well, my reaction to that is, Quantum Break doesn't have online components.
Well, there's that.
Why does that fucking matter? If you only bought it for this one game,
right,
then you don't need
also
gold.
But let's rewind even further and go, that's been a thing since the 360 days. Like, if you have a problem with paying, because I have a problem with paying to be online.
Yeah.
I don't think that should be a thing that you have to pay for to play online. I think it was bullshit when Microsoft did it. I thought it was bullshit when Sony signed on to the same train, right?
And on top of that, if you are buying gold, you're also getting a shit ton of games on top of that with your gold, with the games with gold. So it's like, hey, your argument is seeming less and less like you actually have a legit issue, and more that you're just pissy that other people have access to the game when you thought you were special and would be the only one.
I'm sorry, John. Is this your first day on the internet?
No, but I'm just...
no, I understand.
You found out you weren't special. I'm sorry.
Right.
Here's the thing. I heard that news and went, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I may actually pre-order that game through Xbox's website or through my console so I can get a PC version of that game.
Yeah.
Just so I can have it on both places if I want.
Well, that's cool. I wish that they would drop the dumb Windows 10 thing, because that seems like it's really stupid to me. All right, next up, Sonic the Hedgehog is going to be a live-action movie.
Yeah.
With CGI integration.
Yeah.
So here's a quote. Sega Sammy Group is currently planning with Sony Pictures to create a live-action and animation hybrid Sonic the Hedgehog movie scheduled for release in 2018, along with some tie-in stuff as well. Damn, Sega.
They want that Pixels money.
I was talking with Matt Frank about this, and I'm just like, I feel like Sonic the Hedgehog fans may be the most abused video game fans in the entirety of video games. I don't know. Maybe Half-Life fans may be worse, but okay. Let's back it up here for a second. I'm not the biggest Sonic fan in the world, right?
I understand.
Never watched the TV show. Didn't really have that nostalgia. Heard good stuff about the weird post-apocalyptic one that they had.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Never really watched it, but like...
It's a kid's cartoon, though, but yeah.
So, is there any way that this is going to be good?
Oh, God, no.
Okay. Like, I'm actually kind of asking the people beyond just you, like, do any of you guys have faith that this... Because... From the description, it's going to be a movie full of real people with a CGI blue hedgehog running around doing stuff with them.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't there another game, a Sonic game that happened? Did you get guns? Shadow?
Well, that was Shadow the Hedgehog, but there was
like
a
real
Sonic,
people.
But there was a Sonic game that had real people in it. That it was weird because like the princess like started making out with Sonic at one point. It was really weird or something.
He's a
like
hedgehog,
or not making out, but again, because the Sonic fans are going to get upset with it. I said that, but I'm just going like that was the reaction. Like, oh God, it's weird that chick is kissing Sonic.
I remember seeing a trailer where it was like regular people and Sonic the Hedgehog, and then it got one step weirder because like Eggman still looked like Eggman, like weird Eggman, but then there was like regular human beings. So it's like, what is wrong with Eggman?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, we're not going to linger too long on here because I don't really have a lot to say. I haven't enjoyed Sonic in a long time.
I assume it's going to be something as bad as Pixels, and by bad I don't mean like because again I haven't seen Pixels, but you know, I just mean mediocre,
Stupid,
not really worth getting upset about or getting excited about.
Right.
But they'll put Adam Sandler in it or somebody as obnoxious, and it'll make a shit ton of money.
What was the last really good Sonic game? Did you have a...
I really like Generations, but a lot of people didn't.
Okay.
I really like Generations. I also really liked Sonic the 4, the one they broke up into episodes.
Okay.
But again, some people didn't.
Okay.
So it's Sonic 3 maybe? Sonic and Knuckles? I don't know.
Hey, listeners, tell me why you're excited about a new Sonic game. Or like maybe tell me like what the Sonic game that I should be playing or that I should go back and play that was really good was. Because we played Sonic Boom when it came out, and it was like...
It wasn't terrible.
It wasn't the worst game.
We actually were kind of having fun with it.
A little bit of fun.
I remember.
But I just had no earthly desire to go back and play any more of it.
Yeah, well, I also heard it got really bad later in the game, like the frame rate and glitches and shit.
All right, so we're gonna have to start speeding it up a little bit because we're almost already in an hour and we've got a bunch left.
Whatever, they want to hear us yap.
All right, Ubisoft basically confirmed that there is not going to be an Assassin's Creed game this year.
Put out a whole blog post, put it on like, hey, all Assassin's Creed fans, you need to read this. It's important.
It was so weird to me because like I read that and I was like, didn't I report on this like a month ago? And it's like, that was a rumor. This is confirmed. Okay, fine. Also, they talked about the stuff that they're laying out this year, or this fiscal year: For Honor, South Park Fractured But Whole, Ghost Recon Wildlands, and a new Watch Dogs game.
Yeah, they said that a new Watch Dogs game will be out in 2017.
Is that what it is? Oh, yeah. No, it's the fiscal year ends March 31st of 2017, right? So sometime before that, there should be a new Watch Dogs game. That brings up an interesting question. You know, you did all right with Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Ubisoft. Far Cry Primal, we're going to talk about in a minute. It looks pretty dope. I like what I'm seeing with For Honor. I really like South Park. Can't wait for the sequel. Why would you put out a sequel to the big raspberry butthole turd that was Watch Dogs?
Because now they want to fix it.
Yeah, maybe wait longer a little bit, maybe? Or, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I just wonder... I felt like Watch Dogs was part of the reason that, like, because there was a whole fiscal earnings report where they said that Assassin's Creed, the reason they're taking a year off is because Assassin's Creed Syndicate didn't sell as well as they wanted it to. And it's like, well, that's kind of a direct reaction to 2014's, like, Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed Unity, you know, where everything that you put out except for Far Cry 4 was kind of dubious.
Yeah.
So I don't know that bringing that back right now is just the best choice. I don't know. I mean,
gives that team something to do.
As long as they actually do something and make a... I mean, I guess if Watch Dogs 1 is like Assassin's Creed the same way that Watch Dogs 2 will be to Assassin's Creed 2, great, because Assassin's Creed 2 is like leaps and bounds better than Assassin's Creed 1. Not that Assassin's Creed 1 is the worst piece of shit in the world.
It's
but
just really repetitive and boring.
It grinds a little bit. So if you guys can figure it out, great, but you got to be... you got to know that I'm giving you the side eye on this. Like I'm keeping a wary eye on this because I don't trust the direct. I don't know. Ubisoft is a weird company. Like
They're
very
French.
bizarre feelings about them. I'm just like, I don't know about you, Ubisoft. So, but what I do know is that I'm finally excited for Far Cry Primal.
Yeah?
I don't know how many of the I don't know how many times that we've watched trailers of Far Cry Primal on this channel, and I've been like, but I think I finally figured it out with the combat, the way the combat looks in this particular trailer. That it looks like they're focusing, because I started to think, okay, here's a question for you, John. What do you think is the core? What are the core facets of a Far Cry game?
Beautiful landscapes.
Okay.
And killing people with weapons.
Malaria. Mostly malaria. When I think Far Cry, I think malaria.
Yeah.
No. Well, so here's the thing. It's a big open world, right? We've seen... I finally, in this particular trailer, we saw at least 2 characters, which I feel like Far Cry 3 onward has been very character-driven between... what was the guy's name in 3? Definition of insanity
I never actually
guy.
played. I don't.
I think it starts with an R. I forget though.
Yeah.
And then Pagan Min in 4. Like I feel like part of Far Cry now is very compelling enemies,
yes.
right? And so we've seen a couple of them. There's this big kind of orc-looking motherfucker, and there's this lady who's got her boobs painted blue, who's a sunbro apparently. Like she runs the sunbro cave people. So there's that. There's a big open world with territory control, which you can definitely see happening here. But then the thing that I didn't really think as much about, that I just keep forgetting about in Far Cry, is the weird combat upgrades that you get, where you can do like a chain combo, where you can like sneak up on a person and attack them and then do a knife throw at the other person there.
Yeah.
And in a lot of the previous Far Cry games, I felt like some of those mechanics were stymied by the fact that since everybody had guns, it was hard to do as much of that melee. Like, it was really cool, but it was hard in a big base full of 5 guys. It's like, I can kill this guy, chain kill that guy, and throw a knife at that guy, but then those 4 guys are all going to see me open fire, and I'm just going to be backing up into the wilderness. Whereas here, without the guns, it seems like they could really work harder on making most of your encounters be that kind of fun, flowing combat. In fact, you see a lot of that in the trailer.
Yeah, and on top of that, I kind of applaud them because I mean it's different. Mm-hmm. Like, and not just different in the sense that it's different than any previous Far Cry game, but it's, I mean, the closest thing that I can say that this looks like and it doesn't look like this at all, but it does evoke a little bit, is Xenoclash.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're talking about. I thought you were gonna trot out Mark of Cree for a second.
No. But like that it's kind of an area of that games don't really do a lot with.
I mean, I feel like a lot of times when you see this kind of prehistory stuff, it's in a like a black and white or what was that, From Dust, I guess, or kind of like you're controlling a bunch of little cave people. Whereas, I don't know, I mean, like, I'm looking at this trailer and I'm seeing all of the things that you get in a Far Cry game, right? Like, there aren't any machine guns, but then I found that by the end of most Far Cry games, I wasn't using much of the machine guns anyway.
No, exactly.
There aren't Jeeps, but you can ride a bear,
which
is pretty
you can
cool.
ride a bear, which is cool. And there are no grenades, but you do have bees.
You have bee bombs. You get all the bee bombs. You don't have a camera to mark targets, but there was a part where you get to fly an owl that marks targets, and owl assassinates people, apparently. I don't know how an owl... Okay. And then
owls are vicious creatures.
They've even got, like, the whole... because the last 2 games have had... like some drug trippy weirdness stuff, and it looks like that's back as well. So yeah, and when I look at it, I'm just like, all right. I mean, looks like a Far Cry game. And you know what? I've really enjoyed the last 2 Far Cry games, so great.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm actually more interested in this game than I was Far Cry 4.
Okay, I really liked Far Cry 4, but it was a little big. Like there was a little much to do in there, to the point where I finally had to just be like, you know what? I'm not going to do any of these missions. I'm just going to do the story missions and then get done. But it does look very brutal. It's out before the month. Or it's going to be out before the month is over.
Yeah,
so
it's coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, great. Looks good. All right. Next up, we got some Activision stuff. There's going to be a new Destiny expansion in 2016.
Hey.
Which I don't know how to feel about, because I liked what... was it Taken King?
Yeah, Taken King.
Did for the rest of Destiny. But If this is just going to be like another House of Wolves, or then I don't know if I'm really into that. I mean,
and from what I read, it kind of feels like it's we realized we're not going to be able to actually do the full sequel for another year, so let's pump out an expansion.
I will say this. I mean, like, Destiny is a thing where, I mean, I played it when Taken King came out.
Yeah.
Played it for a little while. Never been back to it since. I mean, I played it for a little while, but it was like, fuck it. If I'm going to dump, 10 hours a week into a game that I've already played, it's probably going to be more Bloodborne. Bloodborne. But
hey, there are people that do play this game.
But I do have to say that, like, this week they're having, like, the Crimson Week, and then they'll have, like, they had the Sparrow Racing League that was in there for a little while. They keep doing stuff, so I got to applaud them at least for doing that, especially when you consider that they don't have a monthly subscription, so they're just doing it based on the profits that they got from selling the game and expansions and microtransactions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but yes, the other big news is that, yes, next year there will be a Destiny 2. And I really hope, again, that if they learn from the corrections that they made in the Taken King and you start out with a game that is as tight as that was with that same amount of content to start with, Destiny 2 could be incredible.
Yeah.
It could be a really fun game. Bungie knows how to do shooting. I kind of wish, there's a part of me that kind of wishes that they would go do something that was not science fiction action shooting, that they would do like Far Cry Primal, right? Or something in a different
No, I agree with you on that.
arena.
I like to see it when a publisher does something a little different.
Like, I kind of wish they would do a medieval thing. And then, let's see, I'm going to drop this. We had one story here that was about the revenue stream from Skylanders and stuff, but we're not going to go over that. What we are going to go over is apparently Activision also had an earnings call where they kind of detailed what their lineup for this year is going to be like. So, new Call of Duty by Infinity Ward. Not sure yet if it's going to be the Ghosts branch or if they're just going to do something new. I hope they do something new because South American fucking brainwash drugs, you stupid bullshit. New Skylanders this year.
Okay.
Overwatch in the spring.
Yeah.
And then apparently, I didn't know this, but there's going to be a Nova expansion to StarCraft 2.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah, you and I talked about it on a podcast.
Well, don't, John, I say so many
It was
things.
announced at BlizzCon.
Okay, cool. Was there a trailer?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. I need to go listen to my own podcast apparently to find out what's happening.
Yeah, no, it's an expansion for StarCraft. It's like their new thing where they're doing like adventures, like it's kind of like this own story, episodic story,
like the little single player or like a single unit type of thing. And then the Legion expansion for World of Warcraft coming out sometime in the summer to keep it close to the movie in June. That's it as far as confirmed stuff. There's also the Ninja Turtles game and maybe a Ghostbusters game. We had that rumor like last week.
There was the rumor of the Ghostbusters game, which
So.
hopefully it doesn't suck.
All right, next up, speaking of games, Titanfall 2 will apparently have a full single-player campaign.
I was surprised to hear that there was a Titanfall 2.
Yep. Well, of course there is.
But here's also the other thing. If I remember correctly, they said the original Titanfall was going to have a single-player campaign, and then when it came out and people went, hey, it doesn't have a single-player campaign, they're like, it sort of does.
I remember differently,
okay.
But then we just established that I can't remember the news stories that I've just reported on.
I mean,
so.
They came out. Let me rephrase that. I remember when they were talking about it initially at first.
Yeah.
They were like, "Hey, it's going to have a story campaign and stuff like that." And then as it started to come out, I was like, "Okay, it's all online all the time, so
right.
you're always playing." But we're not lying when they say that we're saying that there's a story campaign. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, and then we play, and it's like this isn't really a story campaign. This is a fucking just a series of online matches.
Well, apparently, let me see if I can't find. When I was looking at this, it seems like that they're not doing that. They understand that they can't, they need to.
No.
To have a full-on, narrative-driven.
Yeah, I think, in all honesty, I think that it's a situation where with Titanfall, they were still a brand new studio.
Yeah.
Even for, risen from the former people of what was it, Infinity Ward, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, West and Zampella after they left.
So it was a brand new studio, and they went, okay, well, what do we know we can make that's good? Online multiplayer. All right, well, let's just focus on that, and then when we do the sequel, we'll actually work on the stuff we're not good.
Right,
and I think that's what they did.
Let's see. Here's a quote.
Or at least I hope. That's what was going on.
One of the shortcomings of the first game, and let's see if I can at least attribute this to somebody. Is this Jesse Stern, I believe, lead writer? Let's see, one of the shortcomings of the first game was we just did not have the mechanisms to tell everyone, here's who you are, here's where you are, and who's around you. We knew all the answers, we just could not deliver it. So we're doing our best to deliver a vision of grand global colonial warfare, retelling the story of the American Revolution and the American Civil War in space. We imagine the next generation of immigrants moving out to a new frontier of an inhabitable planet. Rather than taking a traditional sci-fi approach to that, we wanted to look at how that would happen practically, what the ships would look like, and what machines that were designed, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, it seems like they're pretty solid. They're also apparently putting together a TV series spinoff.
That was the thing that interested me more than the fact that there's a 2.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what?
It's going to be a collaboration with Lionsgate TV. And, yeah. So, I mean, hey, it's maybe... I feel like they're like the pendulum has swung too far in the opposite direction. They're like, oh, okay, you guys want story? You want story? All right, it's all story. There's no multiplayer, and there's a TV show too. And it's just like, no.
Also, there's like 6 comic books, an animated feature, and a novel.
That's right.
And don't forget,
and you buy all the Taco Bell cups, and then you line them up, and you can see the comic strip. And no.
And one of our developers is going to come to your house and light a fire in the front yard and tell you campfire stories.
That's right.
About this game.
I really hope, though, I mean, the thing is that I might have continued to play Titanfall if there had been anything but the multiplayer, because I really enjoyed the multiplayer for Titanfall.
It was really tight. It was
but
really good.
Just kind of burned out a little bit too quickly for me.
I hope they really work on the... because the thing with Titanfall that kind of wore on me after a while was that it was very the ground game versus the robot game.
Right.
Like, the animations for getting in and out of the robot or or jumping on the back of a robot, that stuff was all awesome.
Right.
But actually controlling the robot and fighting stuff, or being a guy on the ground having to fight a robot, it's just kind of not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
You didn't feel it?
I didn't feel it. I feel like they need, like, being a guy on the ground, running around, shooting other people, and then firing giant missile launchers at robots was cool.
Yeah.
But being in the mech suit and having to fight the tiny people on the ground was just kind of like, well, this is stupid. I'm just going to put my robot on autopilot and have it go do stuff while I run around and kill stuff.
I could say that there's a few like singular experiences that I had playing that, of kind of like chains of doing stuff, like getting a couple kills and then getting the robot, and then here comes a person. I'm going to get out of the robot. I'm going to send the robot over here. I'm going to stand on top of this building. I'm going to flank it so that when the guys come with the rocket, and it's like these really nice, and with the whole like parkour and double jump.
Yeah, no. All that stuff was great. I really hope they build on it a little bit more to make it a little bit more dynamic, that when you're in the suit.
It would have been nice if there was a little bit more customization, like with the suits. I feel like the whole thing could have used a little bit heavier unlock tree.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I played it, but like maybe having the mechs have something like the unlocks in Call of Duty, where if you use the same gun, then you can upgrade that gun and put attachments on. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see. Oh shit, we got to start moving even faster. All right. There's a 40-minute Valkyria as your Revolution gameplay demo that came out this week. It's just there was a demo that came with the Valkyria Chronicles Japanese HD re-release edition, and somebody played a bunch of it and put it on YouTube. This is really weird looking to me, because this is like a real-time...
It looks like Valkyria Chronicles.
And
but
by
it's
that
not
you mean
turn-based.
The look of it, the actual art style, it definitely looks like Valkyria Chronicles. But you know what's interesting about it is that when I look at it, I'm getting real heavy vibes of that Final Fantasy 15.
Okay.
Of a bunch of people running around in real time slashing at people. And it seems to be divided into like a shooting portion, and then like if you get close enough to the other people, then you have this kind of like melee portion. It looks hella chaotic.
Yeah, a little bit.
Which is a little strange to me about Valkyria, because Valkyria is with the turn-based aspect is very precise, right? Whereas this is just like this messy bunch of just running in and swords, and also there's way more swords than I remember there being in Valkyria Chronicles.
Yeah, and again, I may be wrong here, because I did a little bit of reading on this, and from what I understand, there is another Valkyria game that it takes place in the same world as Valkyria Chronicles that is like this.
Uh-huh.
That this is a sequel to that, or a spiritual sequel, or something like that to that. Even though it takes place in the Valkyria Chronicles universe.
Okay.
So it's not like it's not technically a Valkyria Chronicles sequel. It's a.
I mean, it looks interesting. I'm kind of interested.
I like it.
I'm interested to try it out. It's just, I guess that it's one of those things where it's a little weird to me that it's called, that it has the Valkyria name on it, because it just doesn't look like what I usually expect from Valkyria.
I can agree with that. See, for me, I am less, like, don't get me wrong, I love Valkyria Chronicles. I've bought it on PC, I've bought it on the PS3. I'll fucking buy it on the PS4 when the PS4 version comes out.
Right.
That's because I love that game. I love the mechanics of the game. But most of all, I like the story.
Yeah.
So if anything, getting more story in that world, I am all for.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, well, people should go out and take a look at it. Like, there's no English in here, but you can get, you can get a relatively decent idea of what's going on just by watching it. So it looks interesting. I'm also a little bit, I've only watched about half of it. But I haven't seen any tanks at all. I'd like to see, there's a giant spider mech. That's some Wild Wild West shit. All right. Strange. All right, well, we'll give it a shot if it ever comes over here. All right, I'm going to start cutting that. All right, great. We got a couple more and then we're done. Pillars of Eternity is getting a big old update, which coming with part 2 of the White March, I believe, that's coming out. One of the most interesting things that I think that they did, there's a whole rundown online of adding additional story components and revamping some of the classes, making the UI a little bit easier. But one of the most interesting things, and the reason that I brought this up, is because they've added a new difficulty level called Story Time that is below easy, where if you just want to play the story of Pillars of Eternity without really worrying about the combat as much, you can totally do that. And I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see. I'd almost be interested in pulling that up because everybody says good things about Pillars of Eternity, and when I played it, I liked it. I just don't know if I'm really willing to slog through the combat of a 30-hour RPG, whereas if I can get everything from it by just doing the story, I don't know. At least I'll have played it, right? Yeah. Instead of being like, I don't... Because I had a problem when I played Pillars of Eternity that was a similar problem I had in Dragon Age, where I got to a point it was just like, everything seems like it's too hard for where I am, but I don't seem to have any other option of a thing to do, and maybe I need to go back and just play it from the beginning and see what happens.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Fallout 4 DLC is almost here, according to Bethesda.
Yes.
We tweeted, we know you're ready to learn what's coming for Fallout 4 DLC. We're not far off. We think you'll be excited. We're doing a complete overhaul of Fallout 4 survival mode, food, sleep, diseases, danger, and more. Stay tuned.
I wonder when they'll announce that sort of thing. Could it be something that starts with the letter E and has multiple letter E's in the title? Like 3 of them?
I don't know. It kind of seems like that's still a few months out. I bet they're going to announce it before then.
Probably.
But then that would seem that the fact that they're having another press conference. Yeah. So we got 2 more stories. One of them is sad, and one of them is sad in a certain way, and one of them is sad in another way. The first one is that, and I don't know how you PC Master Race people could have not seen this coming. Arkham Knight has been canceled for Linux and the Mac versions.
No.
Yes.
I thought that was announced like a long time ago.
Well, maybe. I don't know. This is one of those. I'm starting to branch out in my news thing, but this comes from a developer post on Arkham Knight on Steam that was on February 3rd. So that's more than just about a week ago from when we recorded last. Apparently, no longer coming to Mac or Linux.
No.
Wah wah. I do not know. Someday I want to know what the fuck happened with the PC version of Arkham Knight, because it's such an unmitigated disaster that I feel like there's got to be something. There's something out there.
They handed it off to the porting to some other company, and that other company fucked up the whole thing.
Yeah, but why not just bring it back into the fold and fix it?
Because apparently it was too hard to fix it. Like, they fucked up too much shit.
It's a Batman game. Like,
they'd have to start from scratch.
Okay, start from scratch. You owe your fan base. Like, if I was a PC person who played the first 2 games on the PC, I would kind of feel like I was owed the 3rd game that you said was going to come out, released, took it off the store, put it back on the store.
I get that, but there also is a certain point where you have to look at what the cost of is to go back from scratch and work to port it.
Yeah.
Versus just fucking saying, you know what? We'll take the hit on not getting those sales. And if it's going to cost more to fix it than it would be to actually get those sales back, then who the fuck cares at this point?
I wish they would do something cool like find a team of modders or people who are be willing to fix it, like crowdsource fix it, so that there's something. Because seriously, I mean, like if I didn't have all these other goddamn consoles and the PC was my only console, this would be I would be enraged to the point of mad fury.
Well, at this
craziness.
point, I think you would just be like, well, I'm defeated.
Well, that's true. That's true. And speaking of utter and complete defeat, we're going to end the first part on a downer. GameTrailers.com is no more.
Aww.
Which is funny because
Another one bites the dust.
GameTrailers started 2 years before YouTube was really a thing.
Yeah. No, I've watched a lot of stuff on GameTrailers for
too.
a long time.
Yeah, it used to be like I just stick to GameTrailers every time there was an E3 because they would live stream the conferences sometimes, and you would see all the videos, and you could watch them. Remember, you could download them, you could make an account, log in, download them. As time went on, GameTrailers did not keep up with what YouTube was doing when they continued to make it excruciatingly difficult to use their website.
Yeah.
So
well, I think it also got bought by someone at one point.
Okay.
That over the last couple of years that company has just been like, well, we kind of care less about you.
Yeah. But I will say, I mean, they had a little parting thing on Facebook. They've been in it over 13 years, and they do say, Game Trailers help change all that. Today, games journalism is dominated by video, trailers, live gameplay, let's plays, and news shows. Now there are millions of hours of content available at any time on your PC, your game console, your TV, and your phone. And they did kind of help with that, you know?
Yeah, no, they totally did.
I mean, before Game Trailers was even a thing, I mean, I was knocking around back in those days. Everything was written.
Yeah.
There was no, like, you would never embed a video. Everything was screenshots and articles because the bandwidth just wasn't fucking there for streaming video.
And Game Trailers said, fuck all that noise.
Yeah. Well, what Game Trailers did that I thought was really great was they always had the ability to download the video.
Yeah.
And before, I mean, nowadays you can get access to, like, to just download stuff, right?
Yeah.
But in those old days, it was like if you really wanted a high quality video of the game that you were talking about, you couldn't stream it. I mean, because this is how old it was. I remember watching Game Trailers in Real Player, right? And
yes, Real Player.
Real Player was
garbage.
It was so bad. It was so shitty. But you could actually download like a full resolution AVI and then watch that instead, and it was like great. So yeah, pour one out for Game Trailers. They did a lot for us, even though I have not typed that address into the website or into my web browser for probably a decade. There was a time where it was one of my go-to every days.
I used to go to them for E3 coverage.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
Like that kind of became, like for a while there it was, I'd watch trailers. I'd also go to them for, because they also, if I remember correctly, they would like...
They had some good original shows, too.
Well, they would contract out original shows. Like I remember they had some Screw Attack shows that would be, it would appear on Game Trailers first, and then after like 6 months or something like that, then they would appear on ScrewAttack.com. I think Hey Ash, What You Playing was also on there.
I thought that started on Destructoid.
Well, it was I think they paid them to have the rights to it.
Oh, I just remember Stutter and Craig and like the top tens and stuff.
Yeah, that's Screw Attack.
Yeah, they had also another one called like Game History, where I remember they had like a whole one of Resident Evil, a whole one of like Metal Gear and stuff like that.
That's where Angry Video Game Nerds videos were for a while.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Stuff like that. So I mean, it's like I used to go there all the time, but then like I realized, these places were contracted by Game Trailers, and I can actually get all this content elsewhere
on the people's websites.
Yeah,
right.
on Screw Attack's website,
right.
or on Angry Video Game Nerds YouTube, or on Destructoid.com, or I'm gonna go to those places and cut out the middleman. And then I would only go back to watch E3 coverage because they would always stream.
They're fast. They would get that shit up right away.
Well, and also they would do the live streams of the press conferences and things like that. And they were really one of the first sites that actually would also do video streaming coverage during E3 as well.
Right.
In addition to getting the trailers up really quick.
Yep.
So it was like that was where I'd go, and then now it's like everybody can just any website can just walk up into it and just plug into a port.
We do it. We just jack other people's streams and then talk about it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like you can get that anywhere. They didn't evolve with the times, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But they were definitely an innovator, and they definitely did shape the video game journalism or website stuff.
Absolutely. So pour one out for Game Trailers, and with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to answer questions. We have a fair amount of questions this week.
All right.
Got some good ones.
I'm ready for some questions.
Mail@rageselect.com is the email address, so stay tuned, and we will be back in a moment. I don't know why I said it like that. We'll be right back. You ready, John?
I'm ready.
Is your body ready? Is your mind ready?
My body is ready. Feels anime ready. Like how his body is ready.
Oh, okay.
My body is ready.
So like a kind of a like weird stilted corporate ready.
Yeah.
That we were kind of
so ready.
Fake made out of plastic. I came from the future to destroy all of mankind ready. That kind of ready?
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about? All right,
I'm
good.
So ready.
Well, we got questions, and if you would like to get your questions answered, you can send them in to mail@rageselect.com. That's mail@rageselect.com. We got a few people who are still sending questions to either my Gmail account or my admin account, and I'm going to tell you right now that I'm just going to lose those in the horrible bunch of other shit that I get in those accounts. Well, our first question this week comes in from Handsome Squid, who says, "Hello, masters of time and dick jokes." Are we time lords now? Just wasting time? Like
yeah, probably time wasting.
Okay, time wasting.
I'll accept time wasting.
Okay.
Anything more than that, I don't.
I just, I've been working for a long time to become master of the dick joke, and so I'm just happy that
I do waste a lot of time doing nothing.
Right. All right, so hello, masters of time and dick jokes. Handsome Squid here. I consider myself a creative person with a variety of interests. Occasionally, I receive a surge of inspiration from movies or music or what have you to create something new or try something different. This is great, but the inspiration doesn't last more than a couple days before it fizzles out, and I find myself wasting time. You bring us great content day after day. How do you keep yourself motivated to keep doing what you do instead of taking that one day off that snowballs into an unproductive week? Any tips for keeping motivation up and creative juices flowing? Thanks, Handsome Squid. The Handsome Squid.
Well, I'm
question.
sure for you, it's keeping the lights on. That's your motivation.
Well, there's definitely that. There's also the fact that Handsome Squid, once you have an unbroken string of like 15 or of like 600 some odd days with no skipped days worth of content, it starts to become a problem to ever one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, John, was that best of week when we got back from December. It was literally the first time in all of Rage Select history that there had not been a brand new video every day. There's kind of something about a huge unbroken streak where even that, just the momentum, can keep you moving forward.
Oh, I know.
But I don't know. Do you have any tips for keeping on point and coming up with creative stuff?
No, because I have a lot of the same problem, but a lot of my problem is that I usually stop because I run into a point where it's like, okay, I have what I've created.
Yeah,
I need X to go further, but X is not within my possession or not within my realm of possession. Mm-hmm. So I have to wait. Mm-hmm. And then that ends up stalling into nothing.
I think that one of the best things that you can do is to start doing whatever the thing is in whatever meager way that you can and get some part of a finished product done, because I don't know about you, but there ain't nothing as meth itchingly irritating to me as seeing like the first 10% of a thing and then going like, I really need to do the other 90% of that thing.
No. There's quite a few. There's a few things in my house right now that are, for all intents and purposes, from the design, from the whatever you want to call it, the idea stage is done.
Right.
And all it needs is to actually make it a thing.
Yes.
And I don't know how I go about making it a thing.
Right.
And that's the only thing that's holding me up. But I look at it and I'm like, I really need to fucking get off my ass and figure out how to make that a thing before someone beats me to the punch.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, Squid, try starting a thing. Also, that's really all I got. I mean, day after day. I mean, the other thing about doing anything, of course, is that the more you do a thing, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
So,
definitely. I mean, I can't even remember what. I try to remember what it was I was just like reading or hearing recently that was just somebody was like, you know what you should do? Create a sketch mentality, which is, it's coming from an artist standpoint, but it's also like can be applied to other creative endeavors as well.
Sure.
Where it's like if you draw, even if you're not drawing, like even if you're just even if you're just like you don't know what to draw,
right.
Draw, just get out a piece of paper and just sketch, doodle.
Right.
And don't go at it at the paper with, I'm going to draw this amazing picture of this female on a lake with dragons and fire and a giant penis in the middle of it. I don't know. But
I'd watch that movie.
Yeah.
Just to tell you right now, I'll watch that. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
like,
the new season of Game of Thrones, I think.
It's very accurate, yes. But no, it's like, don't go at it with this like specific idea in mind, but just like sit down and just draw something.
Yeah.
And then even if it turns out to be the most amazing thing you've ever drawn, put it away. Like, don't release it. You don't need to put it out. I mean, if you want to, you can, but don't go, I'm going to show this to the world. Just kind of like, all right, that's done. Set that aside.
Yeah.
And do that at least once a day, whether if it's writing that you're creative about, like you write scripts or write books or write stories or write songs or whatever, just get in the habit of sitting down and 20 minutes out of your day, just write something.
Yeah.
Just doesn't even have to be a story, just write something.
Yeah.
And then the more you do it, the more that idea of just sitting down going, okay, well, if I sit down at X time every day and I force my brain to create something not specific in mind, that's going to be more habit forming, that when you sit down at that time of day, that you'll just be like, okay, well, now I want to write something. And oh my God, I'm writing it because I'm used to writing this in this time of day or drawing at this time of day and being creative, and my brain is just doing stuff.
One of the hardest things to do in any kind of endeavor, whether it's working out or being creative or cleaning or whatever it is if you get into the habit of doing a thing, it becomes easier to continue that habit than it does to stop.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a thing that I read a long time ago that was about what was it, about how to form habits. It was like, go buy one of those dumb little plastic bracelets, right?
Yeah.
Like the Live Strong ones, right?
Yeah.
And put it on one of your wrists, and then whenever you fail to do whatever the thing you're trying to get into the habit of doing, you take the bracelet off and you put it on your other wrist. And your goal is to not have that bracelet move. And in that way, just by having a tangible thing that happens, you will have even the most meager of incentive to do whatever the thing is, because there's like a weird abstract consequence to not doing it. And if you can just get the habit going, then you will continue to do it. That's another thing about Rage Select, right? I've been recording all days, every day for 2.5+ years now. I mean, we're coming up on 3 years in July, I guess. So it's also one of those things where if you can just start doing it, it will continue to move itself forward. Also, never forget the wise words of Kevin J. Baird, which is, dude, sometimes the thing that you made sucks. You just have to put it out and find out. And then you got to keep doing it again and again and again, because there's nothing that'll make you better about a thing. Or there's just something to be said about putting out a thing that is not 100% perfect, and then continuing to put it out, and then continuing to put it out, and have it get better incrementally over time, instead of slaving over the perfect thing and then never actually releasing it, because I
can say that mentality is the whole reason. I mean, I don't do it anymore, obviously, but Geek Bombast, when I was doing that podcast,
right?
Like, you go back, if you could find those episodes, if you go back and listen to those first episodes, they were fucking god-awful garbage.
Right.
Like, I can't even stand to listen to them. The quality of the audio was bad. There was a lot of noise loss, a lot of hissing, a lot of just environmental noises. We were awkward and whatever, but we just put it out.
Yeah.
And we kept doing it, and we kept doing it. We actually turned it into a ritual. And over time, I figured, we can get better microphones, or I don't need better microphones. I just need to not do this thing.
Right.
Or I need to learn what these settings do. And then over time, it got better and better and better. And then it got to a point where I was like, man, I'm pretty happy with this.
Yeah.
And everyone else seems to be really happy with this. And that was one of the things that people used to say to me all the time. It's like, man, your podcast sounds awesome. Mm-hmm. How do you get it so awesome? It's like,
you worked
at it.
Yep.
I actually don't even think the podcast, like, it's weird, because that's the thing that everyone commented on. Was like, man, your quality of audio is great on that. And I was like, I don't even think it was that good. Even at the end there, I don't even think it was like super great, but people liked it, and it, whatever.
Yeah. So there you go, Squid. It sounds like we're both kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
Practice, do it every day, get into the habit. That'll keep your creative juices flowing. Try to do even the smallest thing and
even if it's
finish
not,
a small thing. That will definitely give you
if
boost.
you're at a point where you're like, I don't know how to go forward and I'm running out of ideas for this one thing that I've been creatively juiced on and been doing, inspired to do, take a break from it.
Yep.
Step away, but do something else creative in its place.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. All right, our next question comes in from Detective FDR, who says, "Hey, Jeff and John, I was prepping for Dark Souls 3, just looking into the lore, and I learned something I had no idea was a thing. Apparently in Dark Souls 2, you could take all the crowns from the DLC and the King's Crown, go to Vendrick in the memory, and he fuses all 4 crowns with a blessing, and then those crowns prevent you from going hollow. And my question is, if there are characters that have the ability to not go hollow, could this play into Dark Souls 3 if they're going into an Age of Darkness? Anyway, thank you so much for all that you do. You guys are awesome. Keep it classy. Detective FDRRR."
This is a Jeff question.
Oh, yes. So it's really interesting. I found this out because of Vati Vigio's videos about Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2, and this is what I was alluding to when we were talking about it before, Dark Souls 2 starts, and your character has been afflicted with the dark sign, which, as you all know, dark sign means you can't die, but you do go hollow, and eventually you turn crazy, and etc. In fact, there's a really weird, I don't know if you remember the opening cutscene to Dark Souls 2. It's so strange, but it's like the woman with and face melts, and like the crone sends you, and you jump into the big whirlpool, and it
then
takes
you end up in the past or something like that.
I don't even know if there's time travel. Well, no, actually, that's true, because the old woman is supposed to be the dragon lady. I've forgotten so much about Dark Souls 2. But one of the interesting things about Dark Souls 2, and it's actually kind of similar thing happens in Bloodborne, because when you start Bloodborne, you go out into the world, you go into the hunter's dream, and Garamond just says to you, go kill beasts. Just don't worry about why. Why is not super important. If you need to fuck the doll, you can do that. Still such a creepy fucking line. Especially with what you learn in the DLC. It's like triple creepy.
Yeah.
But he's like, go out there and do this. And the same is kind of true of Dark Souls 2, is that you're on a quest to keep yourself from going hollow. But over the course of the game, you forget about that because of Nashandra and Vendrick and the giants. You like learning all this other stuff, and it now becomes this. Your goal becomes to stop Nashandra from getting to the big throne of ash or whatever it is, so that she controls the flame, essentially, right?
Yeah.
But as Vati points out, about halfway through the game, if you do the DLCs, you get this crown that stops you from going hollow. You have completed the reason that you came to this place. However, you've done it in a very weird way, because the crown keeps your character from ever going hollow, but it doesn't stop you from coming back to life whenever you die. So the curse still exists. It's just you found this one remedy for one person to keep them from eventually going mad and succumbing to the, becoming hollow. So it's actually one of the things that I was interested in that trailer for the opening of Dark Souls 3, is if that whole mechanic plays into Dark Souls 3, if the crown that you see in the intro is one of these crowns, and the reason that your character is able to have an effect on the world is because they're one person who is not affected by going hollow. They're like this one person who is still immortal but does not ever go hollow, would give you a kind of an interesting incentive to try to break the cycle of light and darkness. If you found out that you can't die, but you're also not crazy, could be a really interesting incentive as a reason for the main character to go do the thing. Because in Dark Souls 1, it's just like, there's a prophecy that an undead will come along and rekindle the flame and bring back the Age of Light, right?
Yeah.
But Dark Souls 2 is so weird, and it's so esoteric in the way that it tells its story. And the story is so in a very strange, tangential, I don't know, it's really hard to keep all that in mind when you're playing Dark Souls.
Okay.
But I think it's really interesting, and I have done the thing with the crowns. We never did it when we were playing because it only happens when you beat the DLC, but it is really interesting. So there you go, Detective. Next up, Joseph writes in and says, "Hello, Jeff and John. This is not a gaming question, but a question on what should I do type of thing. Long story short,
go to Disneyland."
Okay, there you go. Thanks for writing in, John. That's great. Or Joseph, sorry. Long story short, I got an invite to a friend of mine's wedding. Now, this friend of mine was my best friend in middle school through high school back when I lived in Georgetown. After high school, we hung out a few times while he was training for the military. Then he spent a few years doing a couple tours in Iraq. Meanwhile, I moved to Austin. After he came back, we hung out maybe a few more times, but the last time I saw him was roughly 6 years ago, and we haven't been in touch since outside of a couple messages on Facebook. This is back to the matter of his marriage and if I should go or not. Since it has been so long and so much has changed, I don't even know who his bride-to-be is. I'm just not sure if I should go. Part of me thinks that I should, since we used to be friends and never had a falling out. But the other part of me thinks that I shouldn't because I will likely know no one else at the wedding outside of my old friends and maybe a couple people in high school who I never stayed in touch with. Sorry for the long email. Joseph. So Joseph is concerned about whether he should go to this wedding of a long-lost friend. What do you think, John?
I'd say, I mean... That's a hard decision, especially when you think about are you going to know anybody there? I mean, if you know, like he said that there are going to be other old high school friends that are going to be there.
Sure.
Yeah, I say if those are people that you get along with and can not be like alone and by yourself and be like, oh, I don't know anyone here. This sucks.
Yeah.
If you can, I say go. Especially if it's a situation where you have the time to go, it's not interfering with anything else in your life.
Yeah.
Fucking go! It's a person's wedding.
Okay, so I got a couple of thoughts on this. One, always go to the wedding. It's a big party with an open bar and free food.
Exactly. Yeah.
Go to the wedding. All you got to do is get your suit cleaned, put on your suit, go to the wedding. It's going to be fine. Two, don't worry about knowing anybody. I mean, we're all a little social and or antisocial depending on which end of the spectrum, whatever. But I'll tell you what, weddings are great because was it last week or the week before we had a question of somebody who asked us, how do I talk to other people? And it was 2 weeks ago. Joe and I were talking about it. Yeah. How do I talk to other people? And Joe and I were like, are you kidding me? All you got to do is be like, so what's up? And then all you have to do is just silence, and that person will probably talk until you finally stop them, right? Because people like to talk
one of two things will happen. They'll either be like, don't talk to me and walk away, or they'll be like, oh, hey, man, what's blah, 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 and they'll try to have a conversation with you.
Yeah. And a wedding is like Halloween, or it's like there are a few social situations in this world that are great for people who aren't super great at talking to other people because certain social situations come with their own icebreakers, and weddings are perfect. How do you know the bride and groom? It's all you have to do. And then that person's going to launch into some kind of crazy story. And then if that story is interesting, you can just keep talking to them while you drink your booze and eat your salmon or prime rib or a horrible casserole or barbecue. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know your friend. But yeah, weddings are great because people are all there. There's usually a copious amounts of booze. People get liquored up. They like to talk. And you can just be like, so how do you? And she'll be like, what's his face's grandma? And I've been around since 1912. And then like you'd be like, oh, what was that like? It's so long ago. And then she'll tell you and she'll talk to you for like a long time. Or you could hit on bridesmaids if you're like
or other
all the single ladies
that are at the party.
Yes.
If that is your want to do.
I have heard, I cannot confirm or deny this, that weddings are a good place to meet single ladies who are all gripped with Mary fever, where they're just seeing somebody get married and now they're just like, I got to get married too. And then,
I've never experienced that.
Me neither. But, I hear it happens. Movies say it happens.
Yeah.
It's got to be for real.
Wedding Crashers, if that's proof of anything.
That movie is so creepy.
Yeah.
But yes, I say totally go because you know what? The worst thing that's going to happen is you get bored and then leave.
Yeah.
Right? And
agree.
Come on. Then you just put on a T-shirt and play some Bloodborne or whatever. Fuck, I talk a lot about Bloodborne.
Yeah, you do.
I'm so sorry. All right, our next one comes in from... no, I'm really not. I'm like, I made this website. I will talk about whatever. I will talk about Bloodborne until I die.
This is true.
I will talk about Bloodborne right up until Dark Souls 3 comes out, and then for the next year after that, you're going to have to just put up with me talking about
until you come back to Bloodborne.
I don't know. I don't know. I think I might, we're getting close to being done on our Patreon playthrough of Bloodborne, and after that, I'm like, I will have no reason to go back to Bloodborne. Oh, no, wait, that's not true. Matt Frank is playing all the way through it. But that's not a problem. I could get him through that in a weekend. All right, anyway, sorry. Next one question comes in from Alex. Alex says, hey, Jeff and John. Usually I keep these questions video game related, but not today. I live in Australia, South Australia, in a small town, small city called Adelaide. Adelaide. Okay, I'm sure I'm saying that's wrong. Whatever I'm saying is wrong. It's awesome. Anyway, I am currently the assistant manager of a bottle shop or liquor store. We do not supply alcohol in supermarkets here, but recently the supermarket asshole chains have been pushing to gain the license to sell alcohol, and it will probably happen within the next 6 months. Hoping it doesn't, though. But my store is a small independent store, and we will absolutely close. I will lose my job. Now, I am currently studying as a bachelor's in business marketing, but I still have 1.75 years left on the degree, and I also currently have a mortgage and a car loan. I'm unsure what to do. Preemptive thinking, I would like to purchase a laser cutter and make my own website and sell laser cut wooden badges and things. But to support my weekly bills, I would have to be quite successful with this endeavor, e.g. sell 20 items per week at $20 a pop, which without the budget for advertising is somewhat impossible. But I have always planned to do, but as a side weekend business, but not complete support. Okay.
He's going to do it as a side business and not something to live off of.
Right. I'm remaining very calm as it is. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just butchering your question there, Alex. I am remaining very calm as it is all I can do, but I am also applying to other jobs. And the place where my SO works, significant other, works, is a small independent supermarket who basically said that they would offer me the manager position of their small liquor shop. But still, it is very stressful. How have you dealt with this overbearing stress? For example, when Spill cut the loading bar, by far one of the worst days for me. I know keeping cool and being very methodical is the best thing I can do, making the best of a bad situation. Apologies for the long question. I understand if you don't read it. Any guidance or ideas would be great. Regards, Alex. So Alex is asking, what do I... It sounds like, Alex, it sounds like you got this shit figured out, man.
Yeah.
Like, go work at the liquor store where your girlfriend or boyfriend or dog friend or whatever it is works, and do your laser cutting on the side while you finish up your business degree. I don't really know what further advice we could offer this man. He sounds like he's asking, how do you deal with stress?
How did you deal? Well, I think he's also asking, how did you specifically deal with the stress? When you left Spill and then started up Rage Select, and how did you kind of deal with the stress of worrying about, well, is Rage Select going to be able to support me on my own, or am I going to fail, or do I, what do I do, kind of thing. That's one of the things he's asking, and I'm assuming he's also asking for the other person, i.e. me, in a similar situation, how would I deal with that stress?
Right.
I'm going to say this.
Okay.
I learned from a very young age of 20.
Okay.
I don't sweat the stuff I don't have fucking control over. There was a time when I stressed the fuck out over every little thing that I didn't have control over.
You told me this before, and I kind of want to be 20-year-old Jeff to meet 20-year-old John, because I'm pretty sure that we would be both completely stressed out people.
Yeah.
All the time.
I don't know what it was, but there was something that just kind of snapped in my brain. I actually legitimately had a mental breakdown at the job that I was working at the time.
Okay.
I literally just snapped and just kind of went into a room and could not deal with anything.
Okay.
And then I kind of sat down and kind of reevaluated some things, and I realized, man, there's a shit ton of stuff that I'm worrying about that I don't have control over.
Right.
You know what? If I lose my job, I don't have control over it. I mean, I have control over doing the best job that I can.
Sure.
With what I can. But if my company goes out of business, I have no control over that.
Right, right.
Do I look for another job? Sure, I'll look for another job. If I get hired somewhere else, great. If there's stuff that I want to do on the side, do I do that other stuff, or do I, it's like, yeah, I was just like, you know what? I can do that other stuff on the side. Am I going to make money off it? Probably not, but if I need to, I will try and just do my best at what I do have control over.
Right.
The stuff that I can't control, and that's why I'm as, I guess, easygoing as I am now.
Yeah.
Because I don't fucking have control over that shit, so I don't care.
Yeah. I think a lot of the answer to your question, as far as stress goes, is that, well, one, I've got a lot of support from people around me, but two, when we left Spill, it was, it kind of goes back to that whole momentum question from our first question from Squid Man, that we got fired Jason and I went and got wasted, and the next day we sat down and started planning Rage Select. And then we had our E3 trip, and like, were we still going to do that? And we started just putting it together. It was just like, there wasn't really any time for stress. It was more just like, well, we've got a limited amount of time. Let's put this shit together. We know how to make Let's Play videos. Let's make some fucking Let's Play videos. Get a website. How hard is it to get a website together? And just move.
Yeah.
And so we did. And I think that a lot of the stress that you're talking about, I don't know, man. I live with a lot of self-imposed stress anyway, so I don't know that it was that much more. It was just kind of like, all right, let's go. Let's do this. We've always talked about what we would do if we were independent, so let's go be independent and give it a shot. Because, yeah, Rage Select was up within like a month, I think, of us leaving, and that was, 2 days later, we sat down over coffee and started to come up with a name and started putting together logos and started recording videos and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, all we really needed was a name. And then we got...
Yeah, that was actually the thing y'all spent the longest on was the name.
Yep. And then we had our friend Peter put together the website. And then it was just like, all right, let's sit down and record a whole shitload of videos. We know how to do that. And so I think that at first I had expected that the support that we got coming in from Spill was going to make us enough money if we monetized to pay the bills, which it didn't. And then we looked out and Patreon was suggested. We went on Patreon. That was enough to float us over the next couple months. And then the Patreon really started to take off. And then it was like, boom, we were good. So, yeah, for me, I think that my best way of dealing with stress is to simply not think about it, because I am actually really poor at actually processing stress and negativity and stuff like that. So I just tend to ignore it until it becomes unbearable. And then I drink, which is bad. This is a bad...
That's bad.
That's a bad scene,
yeah.
man.
I, in all honesty, the way I deal with stress, like I said, is I look at what do I have control over, and I deal with that.
Yeah.
And then the stuff I don't have control over, it's like, well, I don't have control over that. I can't, what can I do something about? Now, if it's a situation where it's like, you don't have enough money to pay rent, well, that's something I can do something about. I can go, sell blood. I can go sell plasma. I can go, offer to mow people's yards. I can go, ask friends for help.
Right.
I can go, I can do stuff. I can go sell stuff. I own a shit ton of stuff that I can just start selling.
Right.
Like, if it's a situation, that's something I have control over.
Yeah.
But it's like if, my company goes out of business, I can't stress over that because I did the best I could while I was there. Like,
right.
That's not my fault.
Okay. Well, hope that helps, Alex. Our next question is a bit of a bummer.
God, Jeff, you always got to be bumming me out.
Yeah, I don't know. We got a lot of strangely non-video game related questions. I'm going to read this one from Brad, but I don't know if we're going to have a whole hell of a lot to say about it. This one says, "Hello, Jeff and John. How do you cope with the death of a pet?" This Friday, we're going to euthanize a cat I've had for 6 years. I've spent several nights working and gaming with her resting beside me, and I miss her already. To clarify, I'm fine with how I'm coping. I just find listening to others' stories therapeutic. May the Dog Lords bless you and deliver you from all yeast infections. And thanks, Brad. Do you have any pet death stories?
No.
I'm trying to think. I had a hamster when I was a kid that died, but the hamster was kind of a jerk, so I wasn't exactly super broken up.
That kind of goes back to what we were just talking about. Like I have no control that.
Right.
So I take care of the pets as best I can, and as long as I'm not the one responsible for the pet's death.
Sure.
I feel bad, and I might be depressed for a couple of days, but over it. But it's
yeah.
Yeah, I mean the only it's a hard. It is a hard.
It's a very difficult question.
It's a very difficult question to answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean I've had a few pets that have died while in my care.
Yeah.
There was one that younger, long before I adopted the mentality of that I have now.
Your non-pot smoking stoner mentality that you have.
Yes, which is weird because I don't smoke pot. I've never smoked pot.
Right.
So, but whatever. I mean, I did have a dog that that I liked, and that was it was a dog that was passed on to me from another family member, and that I took care of, and it was best friend kind of thing, and she got attacked by another dog, Chow, who belonged to a neighbor, and it got loose, and that Chow was actually known for attacking children.
Oh, good.
And they kept like, oh, well, leash shit in the backyard, and then it would get out and attack another child or whatever. How that fucking thing didn't get put to sleep for how many children and other animals that it attacked.
Good Lord.
No fucking clue.
Good Lord.
But it attacked my dog, and my dog was actually protecting me in a way. And I called my uncle, who used to be the owner of that dog but couldn't take care of it anymore.
Right.
And because my mom was like on a business trip or something, and he had to like drive across town, we took it to a vet, and nothing we could do.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed. I was heartbroken. I missed that dog for a very long time, and
sure,
it sucks.
I guess it's kind of a time, time heals all wounds.
Yeah.
I mean, generally speaking, with death, I always try to just focus on dwelling on the good memories and not obsessing over anything bad.
I will say this: I do miss having a dog.
Yeah,
yeah.
I thought you were going to get a dog.
Yeah, we keep planning on it.
Yeah,
keep having to push it back for monetary reasons. It's one of those things that if we get to a situation where we're like, oh, we can't afford to take care of ourselves right now, so why would we put a dog in that situation?
Yeah. Well, because they're so cute.
Yeah.
They're so cute dog. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
My dog is going to live forever, so I don't have to worry about this particular problem.
By the way, I do want to state, when I say I don't have enough money to take care of myself, I don't mean like I'm like homeless and not eating or anything like that. I mean just it's struggling. Like, I don't want people to listen to this podcast and be like, oh my God, John's like, we need to up our Patreon donations because John's fucking like, he's going to lose his house.
That's
and
right.
He's gone like weeks without eating food.
Yeah, so I mean, whenever I need John on the show, I just go to the box where he lives, and I give him a bag of Taco Bell, and he agrees to come on.
I don't want people to think. I don't want people to think that, because that's not what's going on. Like I am not suffering by any major means, but I'm money's tight at certain times of the year for me.
Sure.
So, and this is one of those times of the year where money is very tight.
Sure. Yeah, I know that there's going to be a day when my dog is no longer around, and I'm going to miss him terribly because
I'm going to miss your dog if he's not around.
Oh, he's the best. He's the best. He's a funny guy, and he's super good. But on the other hand, when you come right down to it, like if I had to ask myself, like, would I trade the pain of the day that I no longer have Archer to all of the awesome times that I have had with that dog? Never. Not in a million years. It's like I would much rather have had all of the great times that him and I have, and all of the horrible dragging the trash out and puking on the floor times as well, for the privilege of having him in my life for a while and have him be oh so dumb and cute. So that's what I would probably focus on, Brad. Just try to accentuate the positive, as the man said in the song. The next one comes in from Ruskells06, who says, hello, Jeff and John. Wait. Hello, Jeff, and like a million other tiny Jeffs operating his body like in that movie Meet Dave. I don't know what that means.
You never seen the movie Meet Dave?
No.
There's a bunch of little Daves in it's a robotic body kind of thing, or it's Dave, but he's like there's like a bunch of tiny him inside that are making him. It's a movie. Just go watch.
The fuck? When did this happen? This sounds like a nightmare.
It's from a long time ago.
Okay,
just
great. Today I have a weird question about Pokemon Go, the mobile version of the Pokemon games with the wristband GPS thing. I recently heard that the game will have certain Pokemon tied down to certain locations, landmarks, or countries, and my mind suddenly went to a dark place. How long will it be before we see some nut job trying to fly around the world so they can catch them all, which he capitalized, catch them all? Or even worse, when some kid dies as they were looking down at their phone and didn't look to see if it was safe to cross the road. My question is this: how viable is region-specific content like this for a mobile game? Also, if this succeeds, how long until we see this being brought into other online games? May Volvo Firecrotch keep you safe as you cross the road, Ruskells. And then he says, P.S. pour one out for game trailers. Yeah. Oh, Bloodborne got the only 10 out of 10 from game trailers? That's a little strange. Oh.
Probably.
I didn't even say it this time. So, yeah, that seems really super insidious about putting them Pokemons in the different places. I have to wonder, like, how terrible they will be with that shit. Like, if the only place to get Mewtwo is, like, in the middle of the Australian outback somewhere, and, like, you can't get your Bulbasaur unless you go, like, into this, like, cave that's, like, way down under the ocean that you have to take, like, a special $6,000 submarine trip to get to.
I don't think they're going to do anything like that.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome if it was like.
But if you want to be the very best, the best there ever was.
That's true. That's true. And if you do catch them all, it'd be like one of those Peter Molyneux things. If you do catch them all, then you get to be in the next Pokemon game. And then you would have some kids that were just like tearing their faces off, and some parents that were just like, "Go fuck yourself, Nintendo! I hate you." I don't know. I mean, I guess it kind of depends on. Like, I feel like this wouldn't work if it wasn't Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
If it was just like some Pokemon ripoff type of game, it wouldn't work. It's got to be like, here are the GPS coordinates for fucking, I don't know,
Pikachu,
Meowth or something. Right, for Pikachu, where there's only. Do we know if there's only going to be one of each one?
No, I mean, everyone can go to that location and probably get one.
No. What I mean is like. Is there going to be a Pikachu in America and a Pikachu in Europe and a Pikachu in...
I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be, they're going to look at it, they're going to look at the types of places that each of the Pokemon would dwell in the Pokemon world.
Right.
And then go, okay, well, this is a desert over here, so let's put all the desert Pokemon over here.
Okay.
And then, like, so America has a desert, so let's put this over here. This area has a desert, let's put it over here.
Right.
You know, like, they're not, I don't think they're going to be like, oh, you're only ever going to get Pikachu if you travel to Japan.
Right.
Fuck you, America. They're never going to do that.
I want them to do that. What is wrong with me? I really want them to make it so that you can only get Pikachu by going and standing like out front of Nintendo headquarters in Japan as the only place in the entire world that you could pick up a Pikachu. I think it would be really interesting also if you could. I mean, obviously there's got to be some kind of like trading mechanism, right? But I think it would be really interesting if you had like international couriers that could go to a location like with a bunch of burner phones, right, and just keep picking up Pokemon and then like fly back. So for like $400 or whatever, some guy will meet you at the airport and give you the Pikachu that he just is coming over here. A little like side business, couriering Pokemon around the world.
Jesus.
On fucking like burners and shit. That would be incredible. I need them to do that because that sounds awesome. As far as his bulleted question about how viable is this region-specific content like this for a mobile game, perfectly viable, I think.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly viable.
Metal Gear had what was it Portable Ops, or was it Peace Walker might have done the same thing where you could scan Wi-Fi networks and then it would generate a soldier based on Peace Walker definitely did it because you could go to a place, you scan for Wi-Fi networks, it would take the Wi-Fi networks and then generate a soldier based on that Wi-Fi network.
Okay.
So I remember going on or driving from here to my folks' house in Ohio, and it was my sister and I were road tripping, and I had my PSP, and whenever she was driving, it's like I would just when we got to like a stoplight someplace, I would like just scan for Wi-Fi and pick up these soldiers from all across the United States. It's a fun little thing, right? You could do was on the road. I just think you got to make sure that it's not crazy, or make it as crazy as humanly possible. Like $50,000 prize for anybody who catches all the Pokemon, because it's going to cost you way more than that to fly around the entire world to get this shit. All right, our next question comes in from Jason, who says, "Gentlemen or ladies, I've been enjoying the continuous onslaught of content as usual. Videos are great. The ever-expanding roster of hosts is always nice to see. Keep up the good work." Thank you. My question is this. Have you ever been unable to finish or enjoy a universally acclaimed game due to its mechanics? Despite owning 2 versions of the game since it came out, I've never been able to make it through The Last of Us. While its story seems to be, for all intents and purposes, masterfully crafted and told, I feel like the combat is weak and the stealth frustrates me more than it seems like a fair challenge, mainly due to instant failure in many cases after being noticed. I usually end up getting fed up with it and stop playing before I can get very far in. As a result, I get the feeling that I've missed out on a big part of recent shared gaming culture. Have you ever had a similar experience? P.S. I know I could just watch the Patreon sequential you and Grant did, but some part of me thinks I should play through and experience it for myself first. Thanks for reading my question, Jason. Put it on easy, Jason. Like, seriously, just play it on easy.
I'd never beat Last of Us either, so don't worry about it.
It's also
I kind of agree with you. It's one of those things. I started playing it and I got to a point where I was like, nope, can't play this game. Nope, yeah. I'm done. I'm putting it down. Fuck it. I'm gonna go look at the ending.
It's too long. That was, it was funny because the year that it came out was when that was, I think, the year that we transitioned to Rage Selector. It might have been the year before. When it came out, I played it, and I remember giving it like a 4.5 out of 5 when we reviewed it, or a 4 out of 5 or something like that. And I remember very specifically because there's a Spill.con, and some fans came into town, and we were at the Rogues Gallery thing, and they kind of like cornered me, and they were like, "Why didn't you give The Last of Us 5 out of 5?" And I was like, it's too fucking long, man. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, it's 12 hours. It's an 8-hour game, and the combat gets repetitive. So by the end of hour 8, the game should be over. There's a whole last act that, like, yeah. Anyway, so Last of Us, ladies and gentlemen. But as far as games that were popular that you just can't get into because of the mechanics of them, it's a good question. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of mechanics. Game mechanics that were really irritating to me.
There's a few.
Original Dragon Age kind of did that to me.
Yeah?
Because
the first one. I agree with that.
Because I got into this situation where when I play RPGs, I like the ability to grind to get to overpower. Like if I have a problem with an area, right? I like to be able to grind to get overpowered before I go to that level so that I can just cakewalk through it. I figure it's a reward thing, right? Like I put extra time in, so this content should be easier. And in Dragon Age, I've never managed to get past the first, like the 4th or 5th mission because you can't do that. It just sends you on story mission after story mission, and I'm not good enough at Dragon Age apparently to get through those missions.
I just thought of what the one for me was, and it's something that people are probably, if they were thinking when I said, "Oh, I can't think of it," people were like, "Oh, don't you mean blah blah blah?"
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls, Skyrim.
Yeah.
I can't do that game. I just can't.
Why? The difficulty? Slight difficulty?
No, it has nothing to do with difficulty. It's just the mechanics of it. I just can't.
Wait, you said Skyrim?
Skyrim.
Oh, okay.
Skyrim, like Elder Scrolls, any of the Elder Scrolls, Oblivion, Skyrim.
What is it? Can you expand?
Bethesda?
Yeah.
Like, I just can't, like, their games are ugly, they feel clunky to me.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Okay.
Like, I get it, they're great games, and I get that people love them, and I'm not trying to insult it or anything like that, but just, like, playing it, I'm just like, it's the whole reason going back that I actually... like that I realized that I love Fallout 3 only because it's Fallout, not because it's Fallout 3.
Right.
It's like I actually, when I remove the thought of it being Fallout, it's like, oh yeah, this is a fucking terrible game to me.
Yeah.
That's not to say it's a terrible game. It's saying that it's, to me, it's not something I want to play.
Sure.
Fallout 4 is a little bit similar to that. You know, once I get past all the Falloutness of it, it's kind of like, okay, now we're back to the stuff I don't like.
No, that actually reminds me, though, when you say Elder Scrolls, it's Elder Scrolls Oblivion and Final Fantasy VIII are both games that I have pretty serious problems with because they have that sliding difficulty that always, like...
it goes too far in one direction.
Yeah, well, no. It never feels like I'm making progress. That's one of the things that I love about RPGs is, like I was saying, I love to be able to, like, I feel like if I put in the work to get powerful in a game, I want to feel powerful. Those games slide the difficulty so that it's always kind of the same challenge level. So it's not like there's mobs over here that are harder that you need to go level up and then come back to attack them. Is they're always going to be kind of at your same level, regardless of how high of a level you are. Dead Island also did. Doesn't necessarily fit exactly into that category, but did that whole thing where I realized by the end of Dead Island that why would you ever play any of the side quests in Dead Island? Because every time you level up, the base zombies get more powerful because it slides the difficulty to match where you're at. So, yes, when you level up and you do these side quests, you get blueprints for weapons that are more powerful than what you have. But by doing those side quests, you're also earning XP that levels you up to the point where all of the base zombies in the game become more powerful along with you to the point where like a single zombie can kill you with one hit. And it's like, so the incentive to do those starts to drop dramatically because why would I just want to make the game harder for myself when I could just run through the main storyline without doing any of this bullshit? Whatever. At least in Dying Light, things get easier and they've got more like powers. I feel like more things that you can do. But there's a few of those. Pick any. Here's another one, and I'm sorry to keep coming back to this. It's just one of my things. I really loathe the way that Obsidian changes the mechanics of a game when they take over the sequel.
Yeah.
New Vegas, KOTOR 2, Neverwinter Nights 2. I really hate the way that they change the mechanics to be their own thing in something that should be a sequel. I feel like they don't exactly understand what made the first one fun for me, not for everybody else. Everybody else fucking loves everything they've ever done, and they're the best company of all time. But yeah, that's another one that I just couldn't. I've tried multiple times to get into all their games. I really just can't. Also, I always wanted to play Metroid Prime 3, but I really hate the Wii's motion controls. I really, really dislike them. I played all the way through Skyward Sword, and it was one of the most irritating experiences of my life because I don't want to waggle the remote in front of me. I just don't want to do it. Like, it doesn't feel good to me as a gameplay mechanic. So there's plenty of Wii games. Super Mario Galaxy, I've never really... I mean, we played it on Sunday streaming once, but I've never sat down and just played through it. There were a lot of Wii games that I just missed because it was like, I just don't care about this mechanic. Like, I don't feel like it brings anything extra to the game. I would rather play Silent Hill Shattered Memories on the PlayStation 2 rather than the Wii. So
Okay.
All right, got a couple more, and then we'll be done here. I'm going to go ahead and skip this. We're going to have one last question.
Okay.
This comes from Michael, and Michael says, hello. Oh, no, he says, Dong Lords of old, Dong Lords of new, gather round. I've got something to ask you. So I've got a date coming up, the whole deal, dinner, movie, and something fun. My question is, how do I ask for a second date if it goes well? Do I ask before parting with her or after a week? Your loyal fan, Michael Maitragin.
I think we're the wrong people to ask.
Probably the wrong people to ask. But I don't know. I mean, the thing is that it really depends on how well the date goes, right?
Yeah.
The traditional is at the end of the night, if you're saying goodbye, be like, can I call you? And then they'll either say yes or no, or you can engage in any number of dumb small talk of like, I had a really great time tonight. Oh, I had a good time.
We should do this again.
We should do something next week, right? Or we should do something again and be like, yeah, I'll call you. Okay. And then you're done. Or you could just, I don't know, like text her. Girls still dig texting, right?
Yeah,
it's
I
been
guess.
5 years since I've been on a date.
It's better than
so.
looking at her awkwardly at the end of the day and being like, I really like you and I want to go on another date. Please.
Pull her hair and then run away.
And then run away.
Out into the night like a fucking crazy person. No, dude, come on. Just see how it goes. And then be like, hey, that was fun. We should do something again sometime. Also, do not... I'm going to warn you about this right now, and I don't know you, Michael, so I'm not making any value judgments, right? But chances are that no matter how the date went, you're probably going to get... She will probably say, yeah, sure, let's do something else. Give me a call. The real question is whether she actually answers that call and then plans to do something else with you. Because a lot of times, in my experience, people will be like, no, this was great. Let's talk again sometime. And then, when they're not standing right in front of you, it's like, I don't want to. But yeah, should be easy. Should be easy, right? See how the date goes and then throw in one of a million different things you've seen on television or the movies there at the end. And with that, we're done.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the end.
Nice.
I don't have any more questions. No more gaming news. That's it. Another Rage Select podcast. I think this is podcast 138 or something like that.
My God.
Oh, my God. Which would be really stupendous for anybody but you who had 500 podcasts or something like that, or a billion, 6 billion? It was more than 6 billion? I thought it was less than 6 billion.
It was either 300 or 400. I can't remember.
Jesus, John, come on.
I think it was 300.
All right, folks. Well, if you have a question, send it into mail@rageselect.com. Thanks as always for listening. Thank you, John, as always, for being here. Yeah. Let's go. We'll go practice asking each other out on a second date, and then we'll know for sure how to answer this question next time.
I'm going to be busy washing my hair.
No, dude, I've had a really good time.
I think I'm going to go home now.
I'll call you tomorrow. We can do something next week.
No.
Oh, but we had such a good time.
Only you can.